Hello, hello, hello. Happy Sunday, folks. We're going to get started in about 2 minutes. Hi, Rascal. Hi, Chris. Y'all are having a good weekend so far? How's everybody's day going? Good, glad to hear it. Hey, Snarfin. Welcome in. Oh, Chris, you say it's pretty good. Isn't as hot as last Sunday. Yeah, it started out decent today where I live, but it's actually gotten pretty hot now. I was out with the dog earlier and he was panting pretty hard, so we came back inside. Welcome everybody. I can see we got some folks, some other early birds popping in here a little bit early. That's awesome. Good to see everybody today. Oh yeah, yeah. Definitely staying safe. I'm really careful, especially when out with my dog. We're very careful about how long we stay in the heat, and then we always have water. Whenever we go for walks, I usually test the pavement with my hand or my foot first before I let him walk on it. Hey, Intelligence, how are you? Hey, the kittens are super good. They're actually probably going to be going back to the shelter this week. The littlest one there, little Xenos, he made weight, or well, he's about to make weight here probably today or tomorrow. So once the shelter's ready, and they'll probably go back and get adopted. Hey, inadequate. All right. Well, the timer has run down. So switch over to my screen here. Hello, hello. Hope everybody's doing well today. Yep, my foster kittens are about to go find their forever homes here pretty soon, probably in the next week or so. Hey, Dev Dipper. We're probably going to give folks, hey, breakfast, welcome back. We're probably going to give folks, another couple minutes to kind of trickle in here. Um, Sometimes oh, thanks, Rascal. Yep, captions reminder, indeed. Let me get those going while we're thinking about it. All right. Captions are starting. Okay, there we go. Should have captions now if you need or want them. Hey, Code. I'm glad we are doing the push again. Yeah, so as we wait for folks to trickle in here, my intent today is not to do anything crazy or introduce anything new. Um, what I wanted to do is essentially do a live fork of Leon's to-do list code, which is up here on the screen right now, which is your homework for Tuesday. So if you haven't been paying attention, we do have some homework for Tuesday, and it is to take this code, the code that's on my screen right now, which Rascal just helpfully sent a link to in chat there. Take that code, fork it, edit it in VS Code, excuse me, go through it line by line and comment every single line with what's happening. So adding comments, right, on every single line. And then doing a pull request to try to request to merge it back to the main branch here, Leon's branch, right? So the idea is that you're taking Leon's code, you're adding it to your own repo, editing it in VS Code, adding the comments, doing your commits and pushes and all that stuff. And then essentially making a pull request. So if you were in real life, you were working on a real project, that's where if, the code could potentially be merged back with Leon's code. However, for this exercise, obviously Leon's not going to merge it. He's just going to see that you have made the pull request, and that counts as completion of the homework. Does that make sense? Narfin says, the reason why we love GitHub. I accidentally deleted my local folder with all the comments on this assignment, but I had already pushed it to GitHub, so it's not gone into the void. Safe on GitHub. Yeah, absolutely. That's the wonderful thing about a remote repo, right? Is that it's so accessible, and if your local storage goes down, then I mean you're not out of luck, right? Hey, good question, CatoX. So you can type exclamation point Leon in chat. And that will give you some links. Number one, to Leon's website, where he talks about who he is, what he does. Number two, a link to the 100 Devs Discord, where the whole community hangs out. We have several thousand active members. And number three, a link to Leon's Twitch channel, where the main classes are held. So the material that I talk about on my streams is really just supplemental to those classes. So you can get started anytime. It's totally free. It's just a free educational program teaching you how to become a web developer. So yeah, I'm sort of supplemental materials to those courses. So definitely check out the main classes. They're a lot of fun. Yeah. Hey, Mavi, yeah, Mavi says backups for all the things. Indeed, that's the great thing about GitHub. Hey, Anna, good to have you back. Yeah, I'm glad you're enjoying the VODs. All of my streams are available on Twitch in VOD form for 60 days. However, they are also available on YouTube, exclamation point YouTube in chat for a link to my YouTube channel. You can find all of my old stuff since almost the beginning of time. Not my oldest stuff, but everything that I've done on Twitch is on my YouTube channel. Noobish asks, is GitHub and Heroku similar? Well, so GitHub is mostly is highly used for collaborative coding, like in production environments and that kind of thing. So you host your code. It's available for editing and downloading and sharing. It's sort of like a warehouse for code. You can also host apps on GitHub as well. I believe that Heroku is really just for hosting apps. Um, but somebody's welcome to correct me if I'm wrong. GitHub does have some overlap in capabilities, but most people know GitHub as code hosting. So just hosting raw code files, um, you know, branching them off, merging them together, acting as sort of a live backup of coding projects. Hey, Mira, welcome. Deb Puddle says I had to create a folder called Mindwolf on my desktop. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, yeah, I've heard that from a couple people. It blows my mind, man. I don't know. It's wild. Hey, Ellen, welcome. How's it going? Yeah, that's a great point there, Rascal. So GitHub can only host static code, whereas Heroku can actually run your backend, like run your server. Like when we deploy our server.js and it's handling all the requests and, doing stuff with the database. Yeah, GitHub, I wasn't sure if GitHub had that capability. Apparently not. Apparently it can just run static front-end files like your HTML and your CSS and that kind of thing. Hey, Lord Megatron, welcome. Good to have you. Yeah, I haven't actually messed around too much with GitHub hosting, so um, it seems pretty convenient though. I mean, I've just used GitHub for code, not for uh, really hosting projects. Yeah, okay. Well, I think we've given folks some time to trickle in here, and I'm sure we'll have more folks join us as we go. Rascal says a lot of folks who are running out of Heroku slots. Once you fill up those 5 free apps, they're moving their static front-end only sites to GitHub pages. Yeah, that makes total sense. Yeah, Noobish. Yeah, so Heroku can run actual apps. Um, GitHub can host web pages, certainly, as well as just plain code files. But yeah, Heroku has a little bit more capability in actually running an app. Hey, Matt Wellahan, welcome. Yeah, Netlify also is an excellent choice. Absolutely. Oh, great. We just got a bunch more people coming in, so perfect. Um, Sometimes I dive right in if we have a lot to do, but today it's going to be more chill. Like I say, really the only thing we have planned for today is just practicing forking Leon's code for the homework, cloning it down to GitHub so that you can edit it. We're not going to go through the code again. We already did that. On my stream on Wednesday, which Leon mentioned in his last class announcement, on my stream on Wednesday, we spent about 6 hours going through every single line of the code and commenting it out, just like what the homework said to do, right? So we're not going to do that again. What we're really just going to do is focus on forking. How do we fork? We're going to do it live. We'll see how it goes. We're going to fork it, clone it down to GitHub, make a couple edits, do a practice commit, and then I'll show you how to do the pull request. I'm not going to do another pull request just because I don't want to clutter things up, but I'll show you, I'll get you there in the process. Hey, Ryan, welcome. Yeah. Okay. So any questions before we get started? We're gonna definitely have, and after we do the forking and cloning, we're gonna have, I'm just gonna stick around and we're gonna have time for questions, asking about anything really. For those of you who are maybe a little bit newer, for those of you who are maybe a little bit newer to 100 Devs or to Leon's classes or wondering what it's about, Leon normally does do, so the regular classes are on Tuesdays and Thursdays that Leon offers. On Sundays, he would normally do what he calls office hours, which is kind of a couple hours, 2 or 3 hours usually, where folks can just pop in and ask questions about anything, right? And it doesn't really, if folks at any point can drop in and ask questions. There's really no topic. It's just whatever you want to ask. However, understandably, he has this new family situation and all that. So he hasn't had office hours the last couple weekends, which is why I decided to kind of fill in and maybe answer a few questions if I can. I may not know everything, but I'm sure we're going to try. And we'll do what we can together, right? Oh, Rascal, yeah, and Rascal mentioned there's a change that could be made to the to-do list code. So I'm hoping that maybe we get the chance to edit the to-do list code at some point. We'll see what the next assignment is with it. Um, yeah, so so the sort in the to-do list code is just paired with the wrong method. Okay, cool. Rascal with the wall of text, yeah. Hey, unicorn. Hey, Ajab, welcome. All right, well, I think we got plenty of folks in here at the moment, so let's go ahead and get started. As always, as folks come in late, the VOD is available immediately, so you can always just go back to my channel, drop off of live, go to my channel, find the VOD, and start watching from the beginning. So you can always, go back and rewind if you need to. Okay. So let's go ahead and fork this guy. And another reason I'm going over this is I noticed that if you look here, so this is Leon's code, right? If you look here, there's only 661 forks. And I know there's like 2,000 students that are attending class regularly. So doing the homework is important. So I'm wondering, I'm curious, just people maybe not know how to fork. People are running a little behind. Either of those things are fine. Just know that, even though the homework isn't graded per se, it's still really important to do because it teaches you how to do stuff, right? How to do real world stuff. And so I saw there were only 661 forks. And I'm like, really? And then there's only 289 pull requests. So we got to get in there. We got to do this stuff, right? Let's do it. Come on. Well, we'll see the difference here in a minute. Um, so, oh yeah, and Driftwood just shared a great tutorial there on how to do GitHub pages if you want to deploy some code to GitHub. If you're if you have some static web pages that you originally hosted on Heroku, maybe you want to move them over to, excuse me, maybe you want to move them over to GitHub. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, Snarfin. Yeah, newborns are tough. Leon has a new baby, and I totally get why, the weekends are no longer maybe available to him anymore. And so, yeah, that's why I decided to jump in on this one. All right. Play a fish. The last portion of Clash has been so difficult for me. Thanks for taking the time to stream. Yeah, and I feel like it's been hard for a lot of folks. Once we get into this full stack stuff, there's a lot more steps to doing everything, right? It's not just as simple as building a page and linking your CSS anymore, and then it does stuff. Now there's multiple connections, multiple steps, and so that's why we're gonna do this. Okay, so Rascal has shared the link to the repo again if you need it. So the first thing we're gonna do is from the repo, we're just gonna click. Make sure you're logged into GitHub. I'm logged in up here. We're gonna go ahead and click the fork button. Oh, I already have it forked. No more forks can be created. Whoops. Okay. Well, that's interesting. All right. I might have to let's see. What should I do? Well, I would say that it's no, you should know what you should do is you need to fork it so that you can do a pull request and merge it back. Okay, let's do this. Let's do this. I wonder I could just delete the fork. Leon is already perfectly aware that I let's see. Oh yeah, here it is. To-do list express. Okay. Is the best way for me to just delete the fork? Leon already knows that I did it. He shouted me out on announcements. I'm happy to just torch it. Let's see. I don't even know how to delete a repo. All right. To-do list express. Okay. Now I can't fork it again. It won't let me. Let's see. Oh wait, maybe. No, it won't. Okay. All right, let's see. It's all good. We'll figure it out. From settings? Okay. Yeah, I haven't ever had to delete a repo before. Danger zone. All right, we can delete it. Don't do this. But no, I'm gonna go ahead and delete it. I have the record of everything on my stream. It's all good. We're gonna torch the bad boy. Danger, Will Robinson. Indeed. You don't do this. I'm just doing this because I can't fork it again. All right. Leon, if you're watching this video record that the repo was here and I put in the pull request, I'm just torching it now for science. All right, here we go. To-do list express fork. I understand the consequences indeed. Yep. Oh, I don't what's my password? All right. Hey, there we go. Okay. Let's do it again. Fun stuff. Okay. Let's try it again, shall we? Okay. There we go. So I clicked on fork again. So I went back to Leon's code and I clicked on fork. And now it gives me yeah, no, and I've still got a local copy too. I just don't have the repo anymore. So it's fine. Successfully sent the repo to the Shadow Realm. For science, indeed. Yep. All right. So I'm just gonna, and it allows you to set a repo name. So I'm just gonna say to this express office hours. There we go. And there's only one branch to this project, so I'm just gonna leave all the other settings as they are. And now I'm just gonna say create fork. Okay, and now we can see that I now have a version of Leon's code underneath my own username. So this is mine now. This is mine to edit, to do whatever I want with. Um, and yeah, you can take a look at my GitHub. But yeah, so all that was just that easy. Now I have a copy, a forked copy of Leon's code. And we can see that it's a fork because there's a little fork symbol up here. And so what this is going to allow me to do is it's kind of keeping, it knows that it's a fork from Leon's code. And so what it's expecting is that I'm going to be merging it back with the originator eventually, right? Um, so now, okay, now what, right? There's a few things that I could do. If I wanted to, I could open with GitHub Desktop or download a zip file, but I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open VS Code. Yeah, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open VS Code and I'm just going to clone it down. So I'm starting with, I don't have to make, any new files here or anything like that. I can just use the built-in setting here for clone git repository. Beep boop. And it says provide repository URL or pick a source. Well, I'm just going to grab the URL from my browser, right? Go back to the window here, paste that in, and then it's going to ask me to save it somewhere. So I'm going to save it locally on my machine. Y'all don't get to see that part, but just trust me, I'm just saving it in an appropriate folder. I'm putting it in my documents folder and just saving it as, so for the person that asks where, they want to save it in a certain location. Well, as soon as you put in that URL and, hit enter, it'll let you choose the place to save it. So I'm saving it somewhere. Office hours code. All right. And when I do that, it says to just select repository location. So, there's really nothing sensitive in here, but I just sort of minimized my documents list a little bit. And you can see that when I go to save it, it just says, that might be a little small, but I typed in a name, office hours code, and I just say select repository location. Oops, sorry. Actually, I'm just going to do it. I shouldn't have typed a folder name. I'm just going to put it in my documents. There we go. Okay. So I just put it in my documents. It's going to put it in the folder that has the appropriate name. And it says, would you like to open the cloned repository? Down here in the right-hand corner. And I'm going to go ahead and say open. There we go. All right, so now we can see that everything is there and it matches the files that are in the folder list there in the repo online. So it's really easy to just clone down an existing repo. So what did we do? Let's talk through that again. I'm not going to do it again, but let's talk through again what happened there. All right, so I started out on the original code, on Leon's code. You can see this is the 100 devs repo right here, right? I clicked fork. Once I did that, I set a repository name. And then I went to the version that I created. So this is in my GitHub now. You can see it's under MyAnWolf. And once I did that, I grabbed the URL. I went into a new VS Code window. I said clone git repository. I put in the URL for the repo. I put it into my documents folder. Didn't create a new folder, just put it into my documents folder. I put that as the location. It just dumps everything to my documents folder. And then I said I wanted to open the cloned repo. And when I did that, it opened everything in VS Code for me. Okay. The Git the Git repository at C users Philly has too many active changes. Yeah, I think what Rascal said, I would put it in not in your root user folder. I would put it in like your documents or something like that. Like put it in a more logical place maybe. Try putting it somewhere else. Because yeah, I generally don't want to store things in your base like C user drive. You want to try to put them in a more specialized location. Yeah. Oh, somebody redeemed a stretch there. Nice, Ryan. Yeah, some folks have wonderful file organizations. I do not. I just put most things in my documents folder. And actually, so now also if we look in my documents folder, like I say, there's really, I'm gonna scroll down a little bit. So in my documents, we can see now that it's saved locally right here. To-do list express office hours. So it's in my documents folder now, and it's editable just like a regular file. Yeah. So what kind of IQ level do we need to follow 100 Devs course? Anybody can do it. Yeah. And that's the cool thing is you go at your own pace. It's not like you're not graded and you don't have to go at a certain pace. There's folks that have just started, last week and they're catching up. It's called the catch-up crew. So yeah, there's no barriers to entry at all. The whole point of the course is not to have a barrier to entry. Exactly, Blip. That's a great answer. If you can type that question, you can make it. Indeed. Yeah. Yeah, and Full Stack has a good point. You kind of want to consider storing all your repos in one location, or at least multiple folders that are at the same level. You don't want to get like different levels where you're storing code. Exactly. Yeah. Okay, so now we've cloned this. Okay, great. Now what? So as you're making edits, and again, we're not going to do edits on stream today. That if you want to see the edits where we do actually do all the comments and things like that, you can look at my stream from Wednesday. It's on my Twitch channel, most recent video. You can follow along with that if you would like to actually do the edits. But as you are making changes, so ooh, that's right, I forgot this is massive. Just gonna delete this. Also, by the way, once you open this file, if you haven't opened it before, you'll see that everything is huge. And that's because that Leon has some kind of ridiculously high resolution monitor. And so he makes everything massive on his screen. However, you can get rid of the massive font size by just commenting out or deleting this settings.json file. So we can see that in the VS Code folder, there is a settings.json file, and it's got editor font size 42, terminal font size 62. Just comment that out and save it, and everything shrinks back down. Does that make sense? See what I did? I have the file open, make it bigger. I have the file open. I went into the VS Code folder, into the settings.json file, and commented out this. You can also just straight up delete the file if you prefer. I don't know, that's just how Leon does it. Just the way he does it. So well, that's what we're going to do in just a little bit, in just a minute, Raina. So that's the next thing I was going to ask. So what do we see here? We see that when I made that change and I saved the file, look at do you notice how the color of the words in VS Code changed to gold or whatever, I don't know, yellow, gold, whatever you want to call that color. So what does that mean? And we see there's a little M there as well. What does that mean for us? Somebody tell me? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right. It's an existing file. It's an existing file that's in the repo. So it's in the remote repo, right? But we have modified it locally. Morbin, indeed. It's Morbin time. Yes, we have modified it locally. And so as you make changes to like server.js and stuff like that, so as we do like comment and we save, we'll see that that will change color as well and get the little M. And we can start to see this little number up here that means that changes are happening, which have not been pushed to the remote repo yet. So how do we do that? Because the end result of this, right, is to take our commented code and push it up to the remote repo and then do a pull request and merge it back with Leon's code, right? Yeah. Let me must save, indeed. Yes. Okay, so how do we do that? Well, we're going to use the command line. You could also do it natively in GitHub, but we like to practice the command line when we can. So I'm going to open a terminal and just change it to git bash. Oops. There you go. I like git bash. Whatever you use is fine. I just use git bash. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and initialize. Oops, come on. There we go. A local repo. Okay, and it may already have been there. This is what I always do. So, all right, git init. And first, what do we always do when we want to push to a remote repo? What do we always do next? Let's just walk through the steps. You know, y'all should already know this, so I'm going to ask you. What do you do next? And when you're starting any project and you want to push to GitHub, what do? You get init. Now what do we do? Add, right? Yep. And how do we know it's going to push to the right place? Well, we can see. Let's see. We can do let's see. What's the command to look at to see if it's linked to a remote repo? I forget. I honestly do. I don't remember. Git remote. Git remote v. Yeah. Okay, there we go. So I'm checking here, and we can see that that our local repo is already linked with our remote repo. So our remote repo is to-do list express office hours, right? No, Nubish, you don't need the /git. That just appends itself. Yeah, so you should be fine. If you did, you just need to make sure you've done git init, and it should be okay. But we'll see. All right, so that's not something I put on there. No, you should, because if you cloned it down, that's the advantage of cloning it down from the online repo. You don't have that way. You don't have to add the remote repo automatically. It knows where it came from. It knows where it came from. So we've cloned it down. It already associates itself with the remote repo, and it's already linked. You don't got to do nothing. Oh yeah, and that's a good point too. We can tell that we are on the main branch. Just hovering down there in the bottom corner, we're on the main branch. So looks like we're good to go. So we're going to go ahead and do a git add. I'm adding all the files. All right. And next thing we do is a git commit -m testing GitHub. I'm just going to, I always forget the quotes around the comments as well. All right, there we go. Ugh, I hate it. I hate the stupid cursors. Oh, it's gonna have an extra space in it. Whatever. Okay. So git commit -m testing GitHub, and I'm gonna do a commit. Okay, perfect. And now, since we already know that we're linked to the remote repo, we can just say, what's the next thing we say? Done the commit? What's the next thing? Git push, yeah. Boop. Hey, look at that. All right. So it was just that easy. The way that we did it doesn't have to do anything complex. We didn't have to download any files manually. We didn't have to link any remote repositories manually, because we just forked it and then cloned it straight from the existing online repo down to VS Code. It knew exactly the path it needs to take to get to the remote repo already. We didn't have to hook anything up. Just knew. Hey, Blue Dream. Yeah, so the homework is to add our commented version first to our repo and then do a pull request to link it back to Leon's original code, because otherwise he's not gonna be able to see it. So having that pull, the record of that pull request on there basically says, hey, I did this and here's when I did it. Okay. Hey, Dev Dipper, it worked. That's awesome. Good job. Okay, so you should have a push, and we can confirm that by looking at our repo. So I'm going to I've gone back to the GitHub repo and I'm going to refresh it. All right. So we can see that in the places where I made changes in the VS Code file and in testing in the server.js file, I made a couple changes there. So my comment has been passed through, right? So we can tell that the commit was successful, or the push was successful, I'm sorry. What's the command to switch the terminal to git bash? If you just go, hang on one sec. So when you have your terminal open, you can go next to the little plus sign. There's a little down arrow, and you can change it. Oh, it's behind my head. I'm sorry. Move it over. So there should be a little plus sign in your terminal. You can click the little down arrow, and you can change it to whatever you want it to be. In my case, I use git bash. Some people use WSL or something else. You know, whatever you use, whatever you want to use, you can switch it by clicking the little down arrow next to the plus sign in the terminal. Okay. And you don't have to use git bash just because I'm using git bash. This is just what I'm used to. So there's, you know, things to be said for multiple options. So yeah. All right. So we've done our push, and we've made sure that's successful. So now, as you're working on this, as you're doing the homework, you can just do it like you normally would, right? Like with any other GitHub project, you're committing, you're adding, you're committing, you're pushing, you're adding, you're committing, you're pushing, blah 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 blah, until you are ready to, until you feel like it's done and you're ready to do a pull request and merge it back with Leon's code. Because let's see, if we go back to the homework, let's look at the assignment again. The assignment was somewhere. Looking for it, sorry. Somewhere he says in there to do the pull request. Comment out every line. I swear it's here somewhere. He says PR. Okay. Yeah, I swear he did. I mean, I was 100% sure he did. I was just looking for the specific line where he said to do that. Oh, here we go. Yeah. All right. So he says, after the project night, he said, feel free to submit a pull request with your comments, and that is how you will submit next class. So that's why we're bothering with all of this, right? Yep. That's how you will submit next class. So we can do it now and be ahead of the game, right? Okay. So I'm going to go back to GitHub. So let's say that I'm done, right? Obviously I'm not. I haven't done all the comments. I haven't done any of that. But let's pretend that I am. So since I forked this, remember we can see a little icon so we know that it is forked. Since I forked this, I can just go to pull requests and create a new pull request. Hey, just welcome. Thanks for coming. First time on the channel. That's rad. We are just working through how to fork and clone an existing repo and then do a pull request back to that repo in GitHub and VS Code. So if you don't know how to do that, feel free to keep watching or check out the VOD later on. All right. So new pull request. And when I click new pull request, you can see that it's going to compare against the original and see whether these two files, so whether my set of files is valid to potentially merge with Leon's files, whether that's okay to do, whether there's, you know, any conflicts or anything like that. If there's any conflicts, it will tell you. and it's going to tell us exactly what it's trying to merge. So the base repo is Leon's repo, right? And then I am merging Mayan Wolf, my repo, main branch to Leon's main branch. Okay. And we can, if we wanted to, we can look through all the changes here. I don't really care in this case, but you can always, check and see what the differences are. So we can go ahead and create a pull request. And when we do that, you can give it a name. You could say like something like commented out code for assignment or whatever, whatever you want to call it. And you can also leave a comment if you would like to. And then once you've done that, then you can just say create pull request and you will create a pull request. Fixed font size. Yeah, I'm not going to create a pull request, another one. What I'm probably going to do later, not right now. What I'm going to do later is reinitialize my previous one that I deleted in order to do this. Because I still have the code locally. All the work that I did, it's still saved locally on my machine. Leon knows that I did it already because we have video evidence. So I'll probably try to reinstate that as a real pull request. Yeah. So once you've done that, just say create pull request and then you will be good to go. And hopefully we can get this list, these 288 pull requests. Hopefully we can get that at least doubled by the time Tuesday's class rolled around, right? I believe we can do that. And if I know we had a lot of folks join recently, if you missed part of, how we were walking through this, you can always go back to the VOD. It's actually available right now. Feel free to jump off this live stream and go hit up the VOD that's actually recording right now. And just start from the beginning if you need to. It's all good. Cyber Bunny. So when you're going to set up branch protection, not at the moment. We're still kind of getting comfortable with the basics of branching and merging and all that stuff. But yeah, there's tons more stuff you can do with GitHub, definitely. Intelligence asks, what point? Oh yeah. Also, yes, do create the pull request now. Just go ahead and do it. If you're done, if you've done all your comments and you're done, make sure you don't do that. You don't create the pull request until you are actually like done, like ready to turn it in, so to speak. Turn it in. Then say create pull request, and you'll be good to go. I would say do it now, do it sooner rather than later, just so you have it done. Right? It's always good to get homework done early. Intelligence asks, what points do you commit and how often do you push? Generally when I'm working on projects, I like, and I'm not on stream, I always forget to like commit and push whenever I'm on stream because there's a lot of things to think about in my head. I'm talking and I'm coding and all that stuff. But when I'm just working on stuff solo, I usually just commit locally fairly often, but I don't push quite as often. I would say I only push about half as much as I do local commits. I don't know if that's best practice, but that's just how I do it. It's just I just do git add, git commit after small things, and then do git pushes, occasionally. You just submitted it without being done? Come on, man. I think you can retract the pull request and try again if you need to. Yeah, Ty, you've got plenty of time, Ty. You've got until Tuesday, but that's why we're talking about it now. So you have 2 days. If you haven't started, if you didn't know how to get started, now you know, right? We just talked about it. Now you know what you got to do, and now you can get started. You got 2 whole days to do it. So I believe that you can. No, Nubish, you're fine. I just think Leon literally hasn't edited the code in a year. It's just one of those homework assignments he just has out there. So no, you're fine, Nubish. Well, so the thing is, the only thing is, I do think you should, not just push like an empty file or whatever, or pull request an empty file, because if you do ever come to Leon for like, let's say a resume review or interview prep or a reference, right? He will go back and be checking some of these things, and you don't know what he's going to check or if he's going to check everything. But, the best policy in these kinds of cases is always to be as honest as you can, right? You may not be perfect, but at least you're honest. until you get got. Yeah, exactly. Right. When I make changes and push it, how do I know the changes got pushed? Okay, so if you did git push, you should see a bunch of stuff pop up in the terminal, right? In your VS Code, it should tell you, it should say like, enumerating objects, writing objects, total, how many total objects were pushed. And then in the end, remote resolving deltas completed with 2 local objects. So in this case, we had 2 files that got changed, right? I changed 2 files. And so that's what I would expect to see on this remote line here. It made 2 changes in the remote repo, and that's all I would expect to see. Okay, so Noobish, a couple things to check. That probably means you didn't make, if you made changes to the files, to these files, that probably means that maybe you didn't save. You got to save, Control S or file save, whatever you do. And then, yeah, there you go. There you go. Now that happens to everybody. It's happened to me, definitely. You go through all the trouble, you either get add or get commit, and all that, and then it says, nope, nothing to say change. And you're like, what? Yeah, you can fork one of my repos if you want to test it. It's all good. I don't care. Exclamation point GitHub for my GitHub. You can, that's where for most of the things that I talk about on stream, we do a lot of, if you're new to my streams, generally we do a lot of projects that are associated with 100 devs. So, full stack stuff or fun stuff. We built a few games, we built apps, that kind of thing. Generally stuff that can be done in a few hours. And most of the code that we cover on stream is stored in my GitHub. So if you're ever watching one of my old streams and you want to follow along, but you're having trouble, check out the GitHub and you'll find it there. Yeah, just fork it, indeed. Yeah, feel free to fork my stuff, whatever you want to do. If it's out there on GitHub, it's public for you, so check it out. It's all good. Okay, so any more questions on the, like I said, we're not going to go through the comments. We're not going to actually do the assignment on stream. I did that on Wednesday, so check out my VOD for that. But do you have any more questions on like just getting it so you can work on it and then doing a pull request for Leon? That is the assignment, right? This assignment is not just to download it in a zip file and save it on your machine, right? The idea is to use GitHub to submit a pull request. Oh, thanks, Arenzi. Yeah, that's awesome. I'm glad you're enjoying the VODs. That's why I make them. Excuse me, I'm going to hydrate here real quick. Excuse me. Okay. What are the benefits of using Git Bash over the default VS Code terminal in a nutshell? Well, so for working with Git and remote repositories and stuff, I just prefer Git Bash. It seems to have more like, I like that it's color coded. It tells you what branch you're on. It seems to just have better, like, it knows more about Git and GitHub, so it can tell you more information in the results. So I just automatically always switch to Git Bash. Um, but it worked just pushing. I'll have to remember to keep it simple for my next clone. Like over branching and pushing back eventually, like if you're working on open source, maybe so. Yeah. I actually need to practice. I need to practice that a little bit more myself. I'm actually not very proficient in GitHub. I am a developer by day, but at my work we don't use GitHub. Amazingly, we do not use GitHub at all. There's actually very little version control, which is something I'm trying to change at my workplace. But as of now, GitHub is not, something that I work with all the time. So yeah. I know. I just like, what? I know. Yeah, it's wild, isn't it? Yeah, everything is just saved in like network drives and folders. Yeah. There are repos. There are repos, but they aren't GitHub, and they aren't nearly as GitHub is kind of the gold standard, right? And it's just not to that level. The change you want to see. Y'all running amok with no version control. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, we do keep, like I say, there is version control of a fashion, but it's not in the same, it's not that like the same organized, like the way that GitHub organizes everything for you. Yeah. Oh, sorry, noob. Yeah, I missed your question. When I click pull request, the create pull request is faded. So yeah, refresh the repo. So after you did your push, noob, um, refresh the browser window and see if it pops up. It probably just doesn't. You just didn't refresh after you pushed and you went back to the browser. Um, yeah, just refresh the window. Hey, Whistle Face, what's up? Oh my gosh. So, y'all, Whistleface is like an incredible DJ, and I love to raid them whenever I get the chance. Let me just shout. They like, man, Techno Thursday was dope. All right, hang on. Oh no. There we go. Yeah, Whistleface is so cool. When's your next when's your next set Twitch set, Whistleface? Yeah, be sure to check them out after office hours today. Thank you. Yeah, they're Whistleface is also out of Louisville, Kentucky, which is where I lived for 3 years. So yeah, gotta represent. Doing some groovy stuff later tonight. Okay, everybody bookmark that. Yeah. Okay, so good music for code review at night. Yes, absolutely. I do that a lot. Okay, so we did our push. We practiced, forking. We practiced cloning down from GitHub to local VS Code file. We practiced doing some edits, committing, adding and committing locally, pushing back up to the repo, and then doing the pull request. So mechanically, that should get you all set up for Tuesday's class so that what to do once you finish commenting out the code. So any more questions on this process itself? And then, once we're done with that, then we will move to just general questions. So office hours style questions. But yeah, feel free to ask if you got more questions about this process specifically. And then if we're done with that, then we will move on to just sort of general office hours type stuff like Leon used to make. Right. Hearing crickets from the peanut galleries. So we feeling good about this? I expect when I look back at GitHub later on, I'm gonna be checking y'all. When I look back at this later on, I expect to see many more forks and many more pull requests. So y'all better don't disappoint me, okay? Make me proud. Question time. Okay. I expect to see, I want us to get this count of pull requests at least over 500 by Tuesday, right? Hopefully, it's not 288 devs. We want like 1,000 devs, right? So preferably 1,000 by Tuesday, but we'll see if we can get there. I believe in you. Okay. Yeah, there's 2,000 people normally in the audience. So when I saw there was only 288 pull requests, I was like, what the flip? We got to get those are rookie numbers. We got to pump those numbers up. So first we forked. We forked to our own repo. And then we opened VS Code and we cloned that repo down locally. Okay? So we forked it to our own repo and then we cloned it down locally. No worries, Dev Dipper. You're gonna have to do the work pushing up the numbers. That's what I'm trying to do. Yeah. Yeah. So we should get up to at least 50% of folks getting the homework turned in on time. That'll make Leon happy. I'm sure. Right. We want to make the end goal is to make Leon happy, right? Yeah. Yeah, no, just go ahead and like I say, you can rewind the VOD right now. You can jump off of live and you can just go straight to the and rewind the VOD right now and go back from the beginning and just watch every step and pause if you need to or rewind or whatever. That's totally fine. I don't mind if you got to do that. Yeah, just jump off if you need to and rewind it and follow the steps and you should be okay. And then what you could do is once you clone it, right, you could just, if you'd already started working on the files like somewhere else locally, you could just copy and paste, like, right? You could just copy your comments and just plonk them in there. Hey, Playmaker, welcome. Good to have you. So a pull request, what that's doing is essentially it is saying, it's basically you saying, hey, I feel like I have made some changes to the code and I want those changes to be merged with the original. So whether that may be like replacing some stuff, updating some stuff, adding files, improving things, whatever, you want that to be merged back with the original so that when future people go to make changes, they are getting both the original and your changes merged together. Okay. Welcome, Leaving Speechless. Good to have you here. Okay. Any other questions? Good questions so far. Good talk. Any other questions? No worries, Nubish. Yeah. Good, Nubish. Yeah, that's true. That's a good thing to distinguish. So essentially what you're saying when you do a pull request, what you're doing is you're saying, hey, original author, I feel like I've made some good changes and I would like you to merge them with the original, please. And it's a request, right? It's a pull request. It's not a pull command. So it is a request. And if you were doing this in real life, the author could approve it or they could deny it. They don't have to approve it. They could reject your changes. And so there could be things that the author doesn't want to include, right? And so they could be like, nope, denied. So they have the end say. So all we're doing here is we're not forcing our changes to merge with Leon's. We're just saying, hey, I've got some stuff that could potentially be merged if you want to. Okay. Hey, Fossil. First time getting to join live. Usually can't join live, but have watched, followed along with VODs. Well, smoking. So pull request, yeah. I mean, but that's what it is. As you're working with, in real life, you might make it's just a suggestion, right? You might make some changes, but they might not be what the author wants. And so in the end, the person that originally, wrote the code or manages the code is the one who gets final approval. So in generally in real projects, like if I was doing a project at work, so being a developer, I manage certain projects and things. If somebody else was helping me and they made changes to my stuff and said, hey, I think the changes that I made are way better than yours, let me overwrite your stuff, I would be taking a real hard look at it before I merged it with my code. So yeah. Well, at work, that's our goal, is that we're trying to get jobs as devs, or folks watching this are trying to get jobs as devs. And so at work, it's a very useful tool. So we got to know how to do it. Ryan says, how long do I plan on streaming today? I don't know. So we've got about an hour so far. This is not going to be a marathon stream. It's not going to be like Wednesday's 6-hour stream. Absolutely not. So, and I think we're about ready to head to probably just general question time. So I don't know how long that's going to take, but we'll probably take a break here in a minute. And then when we come back, we'll just have question time for as long as people want to ask questions, and then we'll be done. Yeah. So Ryan, yeah, feel free to go do what you got to do. We're pretty much, I think we're pretty much done with the structured part of this. Leave me ask genuine questions, SQL or Oracle? So are you talking like SQL Server or Oracle? So I've used both on different jobs. They have pros and cons. I probably like SQL Server a little bit better just because of the kind of functionality you can add in. You can add plugins and Redgate and stuff like that, and make it a little bit, to me, it's a little bit more friendly to the user. But I mean, right now at my current role, I use Oracle, so PL SQL. I don't know. I can, take or leave either one. With SQL, it seems like it's more about the data structures themselves versus like what client you're using or what flavor of SQL you're using. It's more about the data that you're working with, whether it's good data or jumbled, unstructured nonsense, right? That's gonna change your experience a lot. Sarah asks, "Hey, how many weeks are left in the program?" So currently, I believe Leon has mentioned that the program should end around October. Fairly soon, we're going to be getting pretty hard into the job hunt. Less about, new technical stuff and more about how do you get a job, how do you do interviews, practicing that kind of thing, along with some more projects in class. Yeah, no worries. iJab field. Yeah, jump on over to Wednesday stream. If you feel like, hey, I'm good, I don't have any more questions, but I still need to do the homework, then absolutely get off this stream right now and head on over to my VOD from Wednesday, where we literally go over the code line by line and comment out every single line, and then we pull request it at the end. 6 hours, so got to get in there before Tuesday. Narvin says, just doing my Code Wars and hanging out. Nice. Yeah, don't forget to do your Code Wars. Okay. Any more questions on the GitHub specific, fork clone stuff? If not, then we're going to take a 5-minute break, and then when we come back, we'll just hang out and do question time for a while. But yeah, definitely check out my stream from Wednesday if you want help with the homework. Also check out my other streams as well. We do fun stuff. We build, if you still, okay, another part of the homework, right? Another part of the homework was building a full stack CRUD app, right? That was assigned before the break. That was assigned a month ago. Building a full stack CRUD app. So I have done that multiple times on stream, multiple different ways, multiple different flavors. So if you need help, feel free to check out some of my other stuff. We built a field guide to aliens. We built a to-do list just last week that was true full stack. So, EJS, MongoDB, all that stuff. You're welcome to follow along with that and then modify it to make it, your own work. Yeah, definitely check it out. Yeah, Snarfin, I saw that. Yeah, you built your son a text-to-speech app. That was so cool. And Chris said, "Great stream on Wednesday, but most of us were dead by the end of it." Yeah, Driftwood, I think, said earlier that they stopped. They went away for like an hour and a half and then came back, and I was still going. Yeah, believe me, I was dead by the end of it too. I just didn't show it. Oh God, I paid for that. We were up until like 1:30 a.m. my time, and I had to work the next day, and I was a mess. That's not something I want to do on the regular. Okay, well, let's go ahead and let's take a 5-minute break. And then when we come back, we'll just do questions or whatever you want to ask or talk about. It can be about the Discord. It can be about what the course is about. What is 100 devs? What are we doing here? What's the goal? How do I get a job? What's some of the other homework stuff that we have to do for check the homework, see what you got to do, and make sure you understand what you got to do for Tuesday. It's important. We got to get back in the groove, right? So think about what questions you want to ask. We'll take 5 minutes, and then when we come back, we will answer some questions. Okay, cool. All right, 5 minutes. I'm gonna get a timer pulled up. We'll start the timer, and then I will see you back here in 5. Cool? Cool. All right, here we go. All right, we got about a minute left, so come on back if you're coming back. See everybody back here shortly. Get a drink of water, use the restroom, whatever you got to do. Got to stay healthy, right? And I will go ahead and redeem that stretch as well. Oh, got a good neck crack there. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and pause the timer. Boop. 2 seconds left on the clock and 2 seconds up. All right, we are back. Welcome back, everybody. Hope you enjoyed the break. Okay, so we have a question here. Feel free to start asking questions. These can be about whatever you would like. There are no stupid questions. Sometimes folks think, oh, I have a stupid question. That's not true. You don't. There's probably several other people that don't know the answer as well. So, so yeah, feel free to ask any questions that you might have. So, Pertamon, yeah, I mean, that okay, that's the thing about putting yourself out there on Twitch, right? Is that occasionally you get folks in chat that might want to push their way of thinking or push an agenda or push a certain question or whatever. But the deal is that I'm putting myself out there, so you got to be able to handle it, right? And so that's what it's a learned skill. And another thing is this streaming. So streaming helps a lot with confidence in being ready for things like interview situations, right? In interviews, you're going to get a ton of questions too, and you're going to have to answer them on the spot. And so that's what you do when you stream. So if you're maybe feeling like you're not super confident, like in an interview setting per se, maybe try streaming. And you might stream to only 2 or 3 people, right? You start out streaming to just a couple people, and then you learn how to answer questions, quickly and effectively, and learn how to explain things, and that can help you a lot in interview situations. Okay, and then Cranberry had a question. This is from the To-Do app for the put route used from the client side anchor tag. And the server side, you had route get put. Can I please explain that? Yeah, we can take a look at that. Yeah, no worries, Pertamon. Yeah, definitely catch up on the VODs, and you can catch this VOD, later and go at your own pace, right? That's the important thing, is that we go at our own pace. Okay, so yeah, let's just pop over to my repo real quick. We'll take a quick look at that to-do. I think it was the to-do CRUD exercise. And the question was, sorry, I'm just scrolling back here. Server side, something about the server side code. Oh yeah, okay. So the question was, in my server side code, so in this to-do app, if you haven't watched the VOD yet, in the to-do app, essentially it was what it was doing was you had a main screen and you could put in a to-do list item and it would list it, like kind of like Leon's to-do app. You just put in an item and you list it, and it would be listed down below. And you could put in another item and it would add it to the list, right? And in the back end, it was adding it to a database, a MongoDB database. So, but the edit, so when you can click an edit button, a little pencil, and when you click the pencil, what that would do is it would actually take you to a new screen where you could edit one or more of the existing list items. And so Cranberry's question was, when you clicked on that little pencil icon, it was actually not just doing a put. So if you're familiar with CRUD, put is the method by which you edit an existing item, right? But in my version of the code, instead of just doing like a straight up put, what we did instead is we did a route, a get, and a post. Now, why did we do that? Well, so first, The route is grabbing essentially it's just the route that we passed in. Um, so it's just grabbing, saying like, oh, hey, this route was triggered. We're going to go there. And the get is grabbing the full list of all the tasks in the to-do list. And since we're navigating to another page, it needs to find all the existing tasks and then render the edit page. It was a different page from the main index. Render the edit page and list all and send it all of the tasks, so that when the EJS renders, it can list all of the tasks in the HTML, right? So that's why we need to do the get. So in order for the edit page to render with everything listed, it needs to do a get first to grab everything from the database. Okay. And the next thing that we did was we did a post, and that was because it's a little bit of cheating. So if we know anything about, let's think about HTML for a second. So we, in this code, essentially we did everything using forms, which are an HTML tag, and they have a lot of built-in functionality, and you can pass requests back and forth to a server directly using a form without having to do a fetch request in your client side JavaScript. So a form just knows, like, it can package everything up and send it straight to a server without having to do any fetching. Like in Leon's app, there's all these fetch requests and everything. In my version, we cheated a little bit and we used a form to package everything up and send it straight to the server without having to pass through a main.js, fetch request. However, the downside of that is that forms cannot handle put methods. They just don't know what they are. It doesn't exist as a method in the tag. So forms do not know what puts are. So what we had to do instead was a post, but that still worked because we could use the find by ID and update method to still perform an update instead. So it was a little bit of a fudge so that we didn't have to have a main.js file. Now that was a lot, but Cranberry, are you with me so far? Because if we look back at my code here, we can see if we look in my public folder, there is no main.js, right? We don't have any client-side JavaScript. We just have a CSS. It's not anywhere. There's the two EJS pages. Those are like what's displayed. Those are the two visual pages. But there's no main.js. So essentially, we used posts to forms and posts to bypass a main.js folder. Yeah, exactly. That's a good point, Rascal. Right. It's only cheating according to code weenies, right? And it doesn't affect performance. The app works perfectly fine, and we were able to eliminate any client-side JavaScript. So it kind of consolidated things actually. Yeah, so we were able to use the built-in capabilities of forms to bypass extra coding. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, and I think for a lot of the stuff we build with Leon, we're going to probably do it the traditional way of, um, using the correct methods and using the input boxes and fetches and inputs and that kind of thing. But it is interesting to kind of experiment sometimes with the ways that you can bypass the ways that you can use the flexibility of JavaScript to use to make things maybe a little bit more streamlined while still having the same end result and not having any sort of impact on how it looks to the user. Yeah. Oh, and I did want to point out Ellen Media's comment from a little while ago. The only stupid question is the one that is not asked. Yes, absolutely. Yep. A great quote. I love that. Yeah, no worries, Cranberry. Glad that answered your question. Yep. Oh, we gotta hydrate. Okay. Oh, I left my tea over in the corner. Hang on. Yes. Usually during breaks I go and sit down. There's a couch over there. I go and sit down for a minute because I stand. I do all of these streams standing up. I have a standing desk and I have my camera, high up. And so I do all these streams standing. And so usually during breaks I go and sit down for 5 minutes. But I do feel like standing lets me be a little bit more, dynamic and move around a little bit more. Um, Certainly gets me better exercise. Okay, so yeah, that was a great question, Cranberry. What other questions do we have? Questions about anything. It could be, you know, how do I join the Discord? It could be how do I get a job? It could be how do I prepare for interviews? It could be how do I start streaming? It could be you know, how do I find your YouTube channel? Really anything. So Nubish, if you're saving your code words in a specific repo, you can set your repo to private. Um, yeah, that's a setting you can do. I think let's see. I don't remember where that setting is. What do you remember? Go to the settings on the repo that has your code bars and change. Yeah, I'm looking in settings. Anybody see the setting where that is? I'm just doing it on this repo. It doesn't. I'm not going to change it to private for real, but just looking at it together here. Inches, tags, action. Hmm. No. Template. Oh, it's in the danger zone? Oh, why is it in the danger zone? Okay. All right. Yeah, so okay. Thanks. I didn't even look there. Okay, so Nubish, did you catch that? Um so in whatever repo you want to make private, so hopefully you're pushing your code wars to, like one repo. Um you can just go to settings and then scroll all the way down to the bottom into the danger zone, and say change visibility and make it private there. Yeah, the change visibility. Yep, right there. Awesome. Okay, and there was somebody else had a question. I missed it. Let's see. What level of Code Wars is everyone doing? I go back and forth between 8, 7, and 6, and some days I know what I'm doing. Some days I'm still completely lost. Yeah, I mean, and all that Leon has said is that you should try to do 8s, right? So anything else that you're doing is, it's just bonus work. Really, the only thing he said is just do 8s. And yeah, there's little, and like Rascal said, there's very little moderation of like what is truly a level 8 or a level 7 or level 6, right? You might get some 6s that you're just like, I know how to do this. And it really just depends. So what I like to do is for my code wars is I like to sort them. So whatever level I'm doing, I like to sort by most completed whenever I'm starting out on like a higher level, because those are literally the ones that the most people have finished, and so they're probably pretty well written, they're probably pretty straightforward, and they're a good way to ease in to a higher level. Zika, you are in the right place, my friend. Do exclamation point Leon in the chat. Um, that will give you the link to the course that most of the folks who are viewing this stream right now, we are all involved in, called 100 Devs. And yeah, it's a fast track to a software engineering job, MERN stack web development job, or whatever catches your fancy. So yeah, check out Leon on Twitch. It's all free. You know, it's not we're not I'm not selling you anything here. It's all free. Check out the website, check out the Discord, check out the Twitch, and you can jump in at any time. It's all learn at your own pace type stuff. New classes are happening now. However, you can go back and watch all of the old classes and just catch up at your own pace. So there's even a channel in the Discord called the Catch Up Crew where you can learn how to catch up and and work with others that are catching up on the course. So you're not going to get left behind. Yeah, welcome, Zika. I hope you get some benefit. Definitely. Do you think software engineering is recession proof? So this is something that Leon talks about a lot. And during our last class, I think it was the last class, he actually even shared some job reports that show that even with all this doom and gloom in the media and all that stuff about, sessions and Google's firing people or whatever, I don't know. Google and like the FANG companies, they are not the end all be all of software jobs. I don't think I would want a job with a FANG company. I certainly don't work for a FANG company right now. And I love my job. I'm a developer. And so, the job report that Leon shared with us shows that, these jobs are still growing. Like the world is only becoming more technological and more automated as time goes on, right? We're not getting rid of computers. We're not stopping making computers or software or apps. That ball is rolling and it's not going to stop. And so the world is always going to need more people to manage the databases, manage the software, manage the infrastructure, manage the computers, manage the develop your build my app type stuff. And so I don't think I really don't think there's any danger. People seem to yeah, and Rassel actually shared a link to that specific report in chat. So check that out, at your leisure and, draw your own conclusions. But in general, like I say, the world is on the fast track to automating everything that can be automated. And, every company, like Rassel says, every company is a tech company, right? Now, if they want to be successful, every company has to be a tech company. And so that's my opinion is that it's sure are some companies occasionally going to fire people and maybe because they've grown too quickly. Yeah, but there's 100 other companies that are in desperate need of people of bodies and they're going to hire you up. So yeah. Play the Top Gun Danger Zone song. I would love to, but I don't want to get a copyright strike from Twitch. So I would love to. Comrade says, I'm trying to connect to my MongoDB database and I'm getting a type error. Cannot read property of starts with of undefined. But I'm not using starts with in my code. That's probably something to do with your connection string. So I would imagine you're probably not getting, the connection successful message, right? In your console, saying you're connected. So that's probably, do you have your database variable stored in your .env file, number one? And then are you referencing it properly? So okay, number one, do you have your database string stored as a variable in your .env file? First thing to check. Second thing is in your server.js file, do you have .env installed? And are you requiring it? Are you saying require.env in your server.js? And then the next thing to check is did you properly like reference that database string variable process.env.variable name? So three things to check. You just get a MIDI file of the Danger Zone song. I don't want to tempt Twitch to bring the ban hammer down. Yeah, and Russell also had said maybe it could be something with the value you're trying to pass. So the question is, are you even able to connect to the database is the first question. And then second, if you are, and you're still getting that error, then yeah, there may be something wrong with something you're trying to pass. Yeah, Mavi, I'm afraid I don't have any real experience with Google Meet. Maybe somebody else can. Yeah, if you're familiar with Google Meet, hit up Mavi Sunshine and maybe see if you can help them out with setting up Google Meet. Hey, no worries, Raina. Thanks for stopping in. Yeah, go get that homework done. Yeah, absolutely. If you feel like you've got everything you need and you're ready to do the homework, then drop off and do the homework. Get it done before Tuesday. Don't wait until the last minute because as we learned on Wednesday, really walking through the homework takes about 6 hours. So enjoy. Okay. I'm gonna switch to Big Mind here. Here we go. Hi. So as we're doing more of like back and forth question time, it's a little easier for folks to see what's being put in the chat. I'm got it laid out this way. Just asked, is there any connection between cybersecurity and software engineering? Well, I mean, they are different disciplines, right? It's, with cybersecurity, you're more like figuring out how to protect existing, assets and stuff, right? You're not maybe necessarily developing like, new stuff from scratch necessarily. And, so cybersecurity is kind of a specialized set of knowledge. I mean, I would say the connection is that they both work with code and software, right? But I would say maybe cybersecurity is a little bit more specialized. And I do know it generally requires some specific coursework and maybe some certifications and that kind of thing. I believe who's that? Who is it? To get it wrong, is it Mastermind that does the courses on like DevOps and stuff? Yeah. Yeah. Let me see if I can. They might be someone you want to check out. Hang on. Mastermind. Yeah, Mastermind does free courses, kind of like Leon does. Mastermind does free courses on Twitch for DevOps. Yeah, and Golang. So let me try to get their name right. Let's see if I get it. Shout out, Master. Is it MINDIO or is it MNDIO? I think it's MNDIO. Let me look. Master. Okay, yeah, thanks, Rascal. That's what I thought it was. All right, cool. So yeah, check out Mastermind. Yep. Thanks, everybody. Yeah, check them out. If you're interested in like more DevOps, cyber security type stuff. Yeah, I think they might be a good person to take a look at. Like I say, they do free courses just like Leon does. You got a push fail, but why did your push fail? If you scroll, usually if you get an error in the terminal, you scroll up to the top, it'll usually tell you what the problem is. Like scroll up to the top of the error, sorry. That should usually tell you what the specific problem is before you go installing a bunch of stuff. No default language can be detected. Yeah, right, yeah. Like Rascal says, you shouldn't need anything. You shouldn't need anything custom just to do basic pushes to Heroku. Um, so I guess just make sure that you have. So Anubish, make sure that you have all of your. Make sure that you have all of your files like with the appropriate extension. So like like server.js. Oh yeah, make sure. Yep. Make sure that you have enabled. That's a good point, Rascal. I think you're probably right. So listen to what Rascal said. Couldn't figure out that the app was a Node.js app, which means it didn't see the package.json and there was no proc file. Yeah. So if you go back to here real quick, I'm going small mine again here real quick. All right. We go in my repo to the full stack template and we look in my index.ejs. I give you the steps on how to set up a push to Heroku. So make sure that you follow all of those steps. So first you initialize your Git repo, then you do Heroku login, you log into Heroku, then you do Heroku create, which is probably the step that you missed. You probably didn't create your proc file. And then, or either that or you missed the Echo node server.js. Then do your commit and push as normal. Yeah. Yeah, so folks in the chat also are giving some great things to try. But yeah, if you want to like a quick set of steps, you can go in my GitHub, just go to the full stack template and open up my index.ejs folder, and I give you the steps there. Yeah, but also great. Yep. Yeah, there's several things that could be going on. I would say look at all of those, the stuff that folks have suggested. Make sure you follow all the steps that I've shown here, and then see how far you get. Yeah. Absolutely. Great suggestions from everyone. Okay. All right, we'll go back to Big Mine here. Yeah, I'm glad you all like my logo. It's I generated it using that like built-in logo generator that's in Streamlabs. Yeah, Streamlabs actually has a logo generator. So if you're a small-time streamer and you want a cool logo, and you have Streamlabs, just log in and have it make a logo for you. Aha, yeah, comrade. I figured, yeah, that's what I was figuring. It's just something with your connection string was screwed up. It usually is. That's the most common stumbling block for folks when they're building, starting out building full stack CRUD apps. So yeah, they said that. So comrade said that the variable in their .env file that contained the connection string was different than the one in server.js that was trying to reference it. So yeah, yep, I've done that before too. It's no biggie. No, I didn't commission it. It's a it's a auto-generated logo. Yep. Urchin, I have not added any EJS extensions to VS Code at all. Nope. Nor do I particularly plan to. I think we're going to be moving to React pretty soon. So, it's worth getting the muscle memory in of knowing how to type this stuff by hand. Yeah. All errors are just typos. The only difference is how many characters are wrong. Yeah, absolutely. Griffwood says, I eventually want to stream, but I don't think I have the skills. Well, when I first started streaming, I didn't have any skills either. I was using, so Twitch makes it really actually pretty friendly to beginner streamers. You can download Twitch Studio, which is what I used to use for a long time before I switched to OBS. Twitch Studio is pretty much out of the box, lets you start streaming right away. It's got built-in alerts. It's got built-in, it's got built-in scenario like scenes, like how I switch my scenes around. You can see various things. It's got built-in scenes, built-in chat support, built-in everything, all right there on your desktop, and it makes it really, really easy to get started. I would actually still be using Twitch Studio if it didn't refuse to recognize my giant monitor that I have now. The percent sign brackets are killing it. Yeah, yeah. EJS is not the most friendly language to type all the time. I feel that. Yeah. Homeless asks, how do you know Leon? Well, I started out as just a regular member of the cohort, just like everybody else. I'm still in the cohort, right? I'm still learning everything along with everybody. At one point, I decided I wanted to just help a couple people. I started out helping two people. Just two people on a Discord voice channel. So we were on the Discord. Somebody asked for help. I said, hey, I think I can help answer that question. Let me jump on a voice channel with you. And we did. And somebody else joined us and we had a great time. And then they asked if I was going to do another help session on the Discord voice channel. And so I was like, okay, sure, like whatever. And so I did it again and some more people showed up and eventually we were filling up the voice channel. And we were out of spaces and people couldn't join and people couldn't see screens and that kind of thing. And so the folks that were on the channel eventually pushed me to go to Twitch so that more people could join. And that's, the rest is history. That's what we've just been doing since then. Yeah. And so eventually, Leon noticed that I was, streaming, and that I've been streaming for a couple months, and that a lot of folks in 100 Devs were watching my streams. And so Leon reached out to me and said, hey, do you maybe want to become an official stream team member, and be officially associated with 100 Devs, and, have the logo on my channel, on associated with me. And I was like, heck yes, please. And yeah, there's also two other people on the stream team as well. There's Hello, it's Rufio, and Verola Fox. And what's great is that we all have different schedules and we all cover different topics. So if I'm not, maybe not covering as much like career stuff, interviews, that kind of thing, definitely check out. Let me shout out my fellow stream teamers here. Hello, it's Rufio just did. Hang on, they just did a full stream with a recruiter. Like they were on like doing a collab stream with a recruiter talking about what recruiters look for, online, that kind of thing. Asking questions, all that sort of thing. So definitely check out Rufio. They do a ton of collaboration streams, like a lot. And they always collab with super cool people. The other person is, shout out Verola Fox. Vero is also very cool. They do a lot of like spaced repetition review. So if you're struggling with Anki and Banky, if you're struggling getting that pattern down, getting those reviews scheduled, doing that sort of thing every day, definitely check out Vero, because they're just like clockwork. They're reviewing, they are answering questions, they're practicing, they're checking off tasks, super organized. They do a great job. So we all, as the stream team, we all cover different topics, which I think is really great. So whatever fits your fancy, that you can watch that person, yeah, and just kind of get a variety of exposure to different topics. Hey, Hoxie, welcome. Good to have you here. Back in the day when I would stream and voice chat, yeah, totally. I didn't even have a webcam for the longest time, like at all. Yep. Even once I moved to Twitch, I didn't have a webcam for quite a while. Oh, gotta hydrate. Okay. Thank you for that. It was a mere 10,000 channel points to get the webcam. Yeah. Yep. Yep. Yeah, that's the and it's thanks to my viewers that I was able to get that webcam through some of that early Twitch revenue from all the subs, and the initial subs from all you folks. So much appreciated. Hoxie says, within 3 months, can I be a front end dev? My roadmap is HTML, CSS, JS, React. Yeah, so I mean, so 100 devs, which you just triggered the command for. Check out those links. Check out our Discord. How fast you go is up to you. A lot of the folks in the course currently, if they started from zero, a lot of the folks in the course currently have been doing it since January. But if you already have some experience, if you're already pretty proficient, then you might be able to just jump on now and pick it right up. And start doing the job hunt. And a lot of the classes that we're going to be starting now are related to job hunting specifically. So how do I market myself? How do I set up my social platforms? How do I reach out to people on Twitter? How do I get interviews? How do I get referrals? That kind of thing. So if you're already pretty experienced, you might just be able to jump right in. You might need to do a little catch up, but I don't know what level you're currently at. So I'm not going to say yes, you can, or no, you can't. It just depends on where you're at right now. Yeah, so Hoxie, I mean, I don't know if you already have experience or whatever, but yeah, that's check out check out some of the materials, check out Leon's Twitch channel, see what maybe where you're at, and see what your time frame is like. I kind of like to caution maybe against setting hard timelines for saying I'm going to do it in, a month. I'm going to do something in 3 months. You never know how much you don't know until you get into it, right? Yeah, so Hoxie, I really think you're probably going to need more time to really start getting proficient. However, I don't manage your life, right? So feel free to check out Leon's videos on YouTube and Twitch, and start diving in. If you get on to if you get onto the Discord and check out the Catch Up Crew channel, there's a lot of folks in there that are just getting started, and you might get a feel for you know where you want to dive in. And we've had folks, and like Mavi says, we've had folks getting jobs offers now without knowing any React. Just knowing JavaScript, CSS, HTML, just general like Express, Node Express, and MongoDB. Yeah, and it's also location dependent. Absolutely, yeah. You might be in a place where certain types of things are vital. I don't, yeah. I would say again, check out the website, check out the Discord, get a feel for what's being taught, and then set your own timeline from there. Again, I would caution going into it with a hard timeline right out the gate because you don't know what you don't know. You don't know how long it's going to take you until you get into it. Yeah. I'd say this course teaches the MERN stack, so MongoDB, Express, React, Node, but that's whatever framework you pursue is obviously up to you. Good questions. Any other questions? What else do we want to talk about? Spaces or tabs? I generally do tabs. Um, yeah, so at work, it just depends on who I'm working with at work. Some folks that I work with at work, they'll like if they saw tabs in your code, they'd be like, nope, erase that and go and put it in spaces. And it's like, oh, fine. But hey, tab gang, yeah. No, I do generally use tabs unless the code is gonna blow up if I use tabs. I mean, there's some cases where maybe they're not applicable, but yeah, I'm a tab person unless otherwise indicated. Did I like straight? Yeah, I still haven't finished it. I'm gonna do another gaming stream at some point. Still haven't finished it. I've been pretty busy. But my existing freelance client is kind of on hold at the moment. Nothing that I did or nothing that they did. It's just they have some circumstances, beyond their control right now that they're trying to resolve, and so I might have some more time on my hands here. Oh, another hydrate. Okay. Mm. But so the second part of that question, what are some of my favorite games? I generally prefer single player stuff. I'm not I'm not a terribly social person. I like streaming. I generally enjoy streaming, but I don't generally do like multiplayer games or anything like that. I prefer single player, or sort of silent multiplayer games like Journey. Just played Journey last night for a little bit. It's really fun to just pick it up. Oh, I'm sorry, Hoxie. Yeah, I know I do tend to talk quickly. Um, you can turn on Hoxie. I do have captions if that would help you at all. For anyone that might want or need captions, you should be able to hover your mouse toward the right side of your screen, and a tab should pop up on the right side of the screen and give you an option to turn on closed captioning if you need it. Yeah. Yeah, Journey is fantastic. If you ever get the chance, definitely pick up Journey. It's only like 20 bucks. Definitely worth the purchase. Yeah, Comrade, I definitely grew up with dial-up internet as well. Had dial-up internet until I was well into high school. And so yeah, I couldn't play online games, and so I didn't grow up with that stuff. So that's why I still like single player. Couldn't do any of that, Counter Strike or Quake or any of that stuff growing up. Yeah, adulthood does tend to get in the way of gaming, doesn't it? All right. Any other questions related to 100 devs or getting a job or life or whatever? Preferably course related, but hey, I'm happy to answer other stuff too. Your multiplayer game is your new multiplayer game is JavaScript? Are you developing a game, or are you just saying that you've replaced your gaming time with the JavaScript time? Either of which is great. It's what I do instead of gaming. Yeah, me too, for the most part. Have I ever tried game dev? I have made a couple of little games. We made a Wordle, so the game Wordle, which is now owned by the New York Times. We made a clone of that a long time ago. We also made a clone of Snake, the game where you have the little snake going around the screen. So I haven't done anything complex, but little browser games like that. Yeah. Ah, great question, Arenzi. Um, How did you manage your frustrations when learning to code? What are your strategies when you feel stuck or lose motivation? That's a great question. Um, yeah, so managing frustrations is actually kind of a challenge for me. So when I was younger, I uh, was really bad about that. So I would get really frustrated, and I would want to know how to do something immediately. And, even up through, like coming through high school and some of college, having really no capacity for managing being frustrated or not knowing how to do something right away. I would just be like, nope, screw this. I don't even want to mess with it. You know, if I can't do it right away, it's not worth doing. Because in high school, I was in a small high school. I didn't have to try very hard, and so I didn't really learn those skills for studying or anything like that. Um, in college, I kind of got like a slap in the face, because college is hard, and so there's suddenly I couldn't do anything, right? You couldn't do anything right away. College is hard. Um, and so managing frustrations was a bit of a learning curve for me. So the question is, how do I manage frustrations? Well, usually when I feel myself starting to get frustrated, which when you're coding, that's going to happen a lot, and it never stops happening. Like I'm employed as a developer, and I still get hella frustrated when something's not going to work and you're not going to know how to fix it. Um, and so when I feel myself starting to get frustrated, I force myself to walk away, go do something else, and kind of just let the problem, I call it percolate, just kind of let it spin in the back of your head for a while without really thinking about it. And for those of you who took the Learning How to Learn course, that we had at the beginning of 100 Devs, this is discussed. This I don't remember what the official name is, but it kind of the problem kind of spins in the back of your head, and you're not really thinking about it, but you're letting your brain work on the problem without obsessing over it, right? And so you get up, you go do something else, empty the dishwasher, take a walk, whatever. And then once you're calm, you come back and you sit back down and you try again. And you might not get it the second time either. But the other important thing to remember is that um, just because you can't get something right away, that doesn't mean you are stupid or incapable of doing it. It just means that you don't have the solution right now. Um, and let me just so my strategy, yeah, so those are my main strategies when I get stuck. Losing motivation is a little harder, right? Because if you're stuck but you're motivated, you're going to keep coming back and trying the problem again. However, if you're stuck and you're not motivated, that's the last thing you're going to want to do. You're going to want to, walk away and never touch it again. um, so yes, it's diffuse learning where you let the problem kind of spin at the back of your head. Thank you, Andrea. Yeah, that's it. Um, and so what do you do when you're not motivated? Well, I usually find I don't have a lot of good self-regulation. So I generally have to make sure that I have outside factors that are going to force me to get something done. At work, obviously, that's, project deadlines, right? Project deadlines mean that I have to get something done or I'm going to get fired. Well, not fired, but, I don't like to disappoint my coworkers and I don't like to disappoint my manager. So that means I have to get things done in a specific time frame. So that's enough motivation for me to get things done. However, with independent projects, it's a lot harder, right? And folks do it in different ways. They might set goals in like a Pomodoro. So you have a certain, 20 minutes, I'm going to accomplish, a few things, or I'm going to study something for my next Pomodoro session, see how far I get, that kind of thing. For independent projects, a lot of my motivation comes from knowing that I'm going to have to stream on that topic, right? So I highly recommend streaming actually as a way of keeping yourself on track and motivated. Um, even if you're streaming to 0 people, or if you're just streaming on Discord, like the Discord voice channels, just hopping on a Discord voice channel and working on something with somebody else. So interfacing with an outside party, whether that's on a stream, whether it's on text, text chat on the Discord saying, hey, does anybody want to work on, such and such such and such project with me for the next hour or so. Or maybe, hopping on a voice channel with somebody, creating a little study group. Interfacing with outside people can be a great way to force, not necessarily motivation, but force accountability. Which, accountability, sometimes if you have no motivation, accountability is your best substitute. You can't force motivation. It just kind of has to happen, right? So I hope that answers your question. It was a pretty long answer, but I felt like it was a really good question. So I hope that helps. Rascal asked, what do you consider the texture of sand to be? Well, it's coarse and rough and it gets all over. So yeah. Octavia says, what do you, welcome Octavia, by the way, welcome. What do you believe is the better way of studying a new programming language? Is it important to study from many sources like Udemy, books, example? And finally, when should somebody feel confident? What is the sign? Okay, another really good question. So I'll tell you what Leon recommends, and I agree with this. So in the past, I tried to learn stuff like Python using courses like Udemy, Codecademy, whatever. Those online independent self-study type courses. It did not work because again, I have problems with, holding myself accountable. I have problems with motivation. I have problems with procrastination. That's just, that's me. I'm aware of my issues. And those types of self-study things never worked for me because it all relied on me. And, and I just don't have I'm just not very good at that type of thing. And so the best for me, what has worked to learn all of these things that we've learned in our course so far is this accountability of working with others. So, having the homework that comes from class, knowing that we have collaborations with other people on the Discord, having conversations and asking questions with people on the Discord, knowing that I'm going to need to talk about something on stream. Just that has helped shape my accountability and my reliability for learning these new topics. So that's, just having that interface with other people and knowing that it's a collaborative effort has really helped me quite a bit. Yeah. Yeah, folks are saying they take breaks when they get frustrated. Absolutely. Sometimes when you get frustrated, the last thing you want to do is take a break. You're like, no, screw this. I want to solve this problem because I am frustrated and I want it to be done, right? I want to fix it. It's got to be fixed. Before I do anything else, I have to fix this. And I felt that way before. I felt that way a lot. But the challenge, the tricky thing is to say, nope, I am not in the right frame of mind to do this right now. My brain is getting nowhere. I need to go do something else for 20 minutes. and let my brain rewire itself and sort itself out, and then come back and try again. Yeah. Yeah, picking a 100 hours project, I can't, give you that. I can't give you that inspiration, but one thing I would say is maybe um, check and see, like, think about the types of things that are important to you in your daily life. And are there any unfulfilled needs with the types of things that are important to you? Anything that's missing, anything that you're like, man, it would be so much more convenient if, I could just do this in an app or whatever. Think about it in terms of niches and needs in your in areas that are important to you. Yeah, self-improvement, absolutely. How much time should be spent on homework? Again, that's not a thing I can answer for you. Um, I believe Leon gave some general like hours at some point. I'm afraid I don't remember. Really spend as much time as you need to feel like you are completing the homework and grasping the concepts. It might take 2 hours a day. It might take what everybody does what they can with the time that they have. Everybody has the privilege. Everybody has a different level of privilege of time, right? Um, I might have, somebody might have be caring for an elderly relative and have 3 kids, and they have 30 minutes a day to themselves and they choose to spend it on the homework, right? Um, but some people might, like me, I live alone. Um, I have a dog. But other than that, I have more control over my own time. And so I choose to spend several hours, prepping for streams and doing the homework and practicing other things. And so not everybody has the same privilege of time. So it's up to you to choose how you spend that time, right? And I'm not saying that, that I'm better because I have more time. I'm just saying that, I recognize that not everybody has the same 24 hours in a day. So all those influencers tend to say, oh, everybody has the same 24 hours. No, that's not true. Um, Many people have much more burden on them as far as time spent on other things, and they have very little time to commit to, self-improvement or learning. And so, it's up to you to budget the time that you have. I'm way behind on chat. I'm catching up, I promise. All right. Irvin says, how do you recommend networking with hiring managers, recruiters, etc.? I'm finding myself adding companies to my hit list, adding the hiring manager, but it ends at that. They don't normally post, so I'm not sure how to stay connected. Well, I think Leon's going to cover that very soon in class. I think that's kind of the what we're moving to in class right now. Um, I would also recommend checking out Hello, It's Rufio on Twitch. I can do another shout out to them. Um, they just had a stream with a recruiter, like literally on stream, a collaboration stream with a recruiter, where they talked about this sort of thing. So I would maybe check out their VODs and see if you can get some good tips there. I just shouted them out. Um, Yeah, and also too, if you're concerned, if you're just starting out with the course, or even if you're into the course and you're having issues, with learning and training your brain and that kind of thing, like Wooden Man suggested, one of the assignments in the course, one of the first assignments in 100 Devs was to complete a course called Learning How to Learn. Um, and it's an online course, and it's just about training your brain. It's not about programming at all. It's just about how do I actually learn how to learn rather than just, stumbling through high school and college with no study skills. It actually teaches you how to learn new things, especially as an adult. And it was very valuable just to learn how your brain works and how you can trick it into learning. Especially like when you're someone like me that has problems with procrastination and, staying on task and frustration, that kind of thing. Very helpful. And welcome to the first timers, by the way. Welcome Neat. Welcome I am Viazu. Yeah, okay. Rascal remembers the actual hour estimate. So as far as, time spent, the goal was spending 20 hours a week just on 100 dev stuff in general. So um, with classes, that subtracts about 9 hours, right? And so, 12 or 13 hours a week outside of class, studying, doing homework, et cetera, et cetera. So, you know, a little over like, you know, around 2 hours a day. Yeah. Hey, Snarfin, no worries. No worries at all. Enjoy your dinner. Great. I'm really loving the questions so far. This is great. What other questions do we have? Great questions, great discussion. Thank you for the follow. Oh yeah, and Mavi also too. Yep. Mavi does some great like study guides and organizational type stuff. So they shared a link to their Twitter and they post things on Twitter about, guides and various things too. So check out Mavi's stuff as well. Yeah, Octavian, that's a good, if you prefer books, and some people do, if you prefer books, that can be kind of difficult now, especially, publishers are cutting back on the physical copies of things and they're expensive. And one thing, Octavia, there are certain, websites out there where you can find digital versions of things, which might be an option as well. Not saying anything specifically that you should or should not do. But yeah, I know how hard it is to find, physical textbooks and things. For those catching up, will there still be remote networking once camp is over? So, let's see. Oh yeah, okay. So Leon has mentioned that there will be support after this cohort ends, after this run of the class ends. There will be some support. I don't know what form that support will take. Wooden Man just commented that blah blah blah, best name ever. Our fearless sort of lead moderator for the Discord, who is wonderful. She is organizing something with the catch up crew, so the folks that are kind of coming in later. She's organizing something for, maybe it sounds like maybe like a brainstorming session on what to do, how best to support folks that are coming in a little later. So yeah, definitely jump into the catch up crew and participate in that chat if you would like to contribute your thoughts. Oh, thank you, Nubish. Thank you for the shout out. Tame Mister asks, any tips on dealing with imposter syndrome? So yeah, Leon has talked about this as well, and I'll happily talk about it. So Leon's been coding for, I don't know, uh, many years now, right? He's been coding, he's been teaching others how to code, he's been teaching classes. He said he still has imposter syndrome. Um, I'm a dev. I still have imposter syndrome. I have times when I'm like, man, I don't know anything. I'm so not good at this. Why did they hire me? That kind of thing. The important thing is to sort of step back from yourself a little bit when you're having those types of thoughts, kind of like stepping back from yourself and being like, wait, no, I'm here for a reason. I have valuable skills. This is just another mountain to climb, and I have the tools to climb that mountain. And once I'm on the summit, things will look a lot clearer. Right now, I'm down at the foot of the mountain, and everything is surrounded by rock, and I can't tell where I am, and everything is all cloudy and hazy and stuff. But eventually, I just need to give it time. I will get to the top of that mountain, and everything will look clear. Um, and so, just kind of stepping back from yourself and not allowing yourself to kind of like spiral into that sort of self not necessarily self-loathing, but sort of self-shaming behavior. Um, can stepping out of that spiral and thinking, okay, wait, I'm not. Yeah, of course, I don't have these skills right now, but how do I get there? Type of thing. But yeah, imposter syndrome never goes away. Everybody at every level, I think, has experienced it. Um, and it's important to just remember that you are not the only one that feels that way, that has ever felt that way. And it's something that you can, as long as you stick with it, you can learn to live with the feeling and then move past the feeling. And yeah, Mavi suggests too, if you can't afford physical books, there's a ton of documentation out there. I tend to like to read blog posts. um, I like, I don't have a particular blog I recommend. Medium can sometimes have some pretty good blog posts on various topics. If I'm struggling with documentation, I might go over to some blogs and have people, explain it to me in real English versus, documentation can sometimes be a little bit dense. That sometimes having a blog post kind of walk through some examples can be really helpful. Um, yeah. Yeah, and online resources are obviously, yeah, great for international learners as well. No worries, Andrea. Thanks for stopping in. Octavia says, do you believe that one day machines will write code and our job as developer will be vanished? No, I mean, I think that's a reasonable question. Um, I feel like anytime that, I think technology is kind of a unique industry, right? It evolves so quickly. There's so much going on. And yeah, of course, AI can do a lot. So, for example, I just got access to DALL-E. I don't know, you may have heard of DALL-E. Um, it's an AI image generation program, and it uses real English to generate, images. But what you may not know is that, oh yeah, sure, of course, Wooden Man. What you may not know is that DALL-E also has a very robust API. And some of what that API can do is that API can auto generate code, and it can auto generate it can auto generate SQL. It can auto generate other types of code as well. It can auto generate other types of code like requests. It can kind of take pseudocode and turn it into real code. There's GitHub Copilot, all those things. But the thing is, what AI can't do is it can't think for the long term and kind of have this vision. It doesn't have any vision, right? Computers only do what we tell them to do. They don't have imagination. They don't have they may seem abstract at times in the way that they come to a conclusion, but a computer might be able to conjure up an image of a cell phone, but it doesn't know, like, what does that cell phone do? What is it for? How could I use this cell phone? It doesn't understand, cause and effect and long-term thinking and long-term goals, and it can't imagine or have a vision. And so I think that's the thing that, where humans are still needed in software engineering is that long-term sort of thinking. Yeah. Yeah, it's DALL-E. It's invitation only. It took me about 2 months, 2 or 3 months to get my invitation. So if you can apply for an invitation, but it might be a while. So short answer is no. I don't think human software engineers are going to be. I don't think human software engineers are going to be replaced. I think their jobs may evolve. We may be writing less. It's like software engineering has evolved from writing assembly, right? Interfacing directly with the computer to more and more levels of abstraction. So kind of like Strain is saying, like Strain is kind of saying there, I think, the software engineer job will always be needed. It just may become more abstract over time. More levels between us and the computer. Yeah, they're not creative, exactly. Yeah, and so the syntax, the language may change, right? But as a software engineer, that's the thing. You always need to be able to learn. It's a constant learning, right? You never, as a software engineer, you never stop learning. You're it's like instead of ABC, it's ABG. Always be Googling. You never stop. Ellen Media loves low level programming. That's awesome. Yeah, and like in low level programming hasn't gone away, right? Even though we don't necessarily need it, it hasn't gone away. Still used. And another thing I think a lot of people underestimate is the sheer amount of legacy coding that goes into literally every company on the planet, right? Banks are still using COBOL, which is from the 50s. And, which is, if you didn't know, it's a programming language, COBOL. COBOL, which is from the 50s and still runs mainframes. The IRS still uses a ton of legacy code. People think that, that the whole of the tech space moves forward at the same rate, and that is absolutely not true. Yes, of course, there's a cutting edge, but there is also a very long trailing edge, which needs people to maintain it and update it. Jobs are actually our creation. They are needs we have created. Yeah, absolutely. Kids these days can't code COBOL. Yeah, so I mean, there are needs we have created, and that's insane. Sometimes it feels so little, I want to give up. Well, sometimes that abstraction of like that. There's this whole discussion about BS jobs, right? What do jobs really provide value? And sometimes maybe the only value that your job provides is the value that you get out of learning new things, right? Um, and I've left jobs. I left my first job out of college because I didn't feel like I was creating value. I felt like I was a cog in a machine and I was not contributing in any valuable way, nor was I getting anything out of it. And so I left. Um, yeah, and not every job is going to have the same level of fulfillment, right? My current job, I do feel like I create value. I feel absolutely like I do. And that I have a positive effect on the world. And that has really helped my mental state. I miss my day. I don't. Oh, I thought you said I miss my days with Fortran. I was like, really? I don't miss my days with Fortran. Yeah, languages evolved, and programming languages evolve, and generally they improve. Numish says, I still haven't found a client. Will that hurt the hunt? I mean, it's probably something Leon's going to talk more about. I think the alternative to finding a client was to contribute to open source. So, did you do the alternatives? If you can't find a client, sure, fine. But did you do any of the alternatives? That's the other, that's, you got to contribute something, whether you got paid for it or not. As long as you did, open source, volunteer work, something like that. You just need something on that line. Okay, so Noobish, that would be my suggestion. If you're at this point and you still haven't found a client, sure, fine, that's okay. Do the alternatives that Leon suggested. Do open source or do volunteer work. One of the two. So Noobish, I think you suggested a poll. I'm not sure if you meant to do that. Did you have a poll that you wanted to suggest? That may have been a misclick there. Octavia says, I studied assembly back in the days of university. I really enjoyed it. Hey, that's rad. It's awesome. Roller Coaster. So the game Roller Coaster Tycoon, I believe, was coded entirely in assembly. So you can do some pretty crazy things with it. Misclick. Oh no. Um, I think I may be able to refund your channel points if you want me to do that. Or if you think of a poll later, Newish. Okay, well, if you think of a poll you want me to do, I'm happy to do it. Yeah, Tame Mystery. Yeah, Roller Coaster Tycoon was coded entirely in assembly by a single person. Correct. Great discussion. Great questions. You guys are blowing me away. Questions. So good. What other questions do we have? That's okay, Nubish. It's okay. Don't worry. You don't have to. Hey, welcome, Shell and the Ghost. I'm not, oh, Slip says, just joined in. What are we discussing? So, we've been going for about 2 hours now. So what we did first, Sloop, was we discussed how to do so basically how to prepare to do the homework that's due on Tuesday. So if you haven't done that yet, Sloop, or if you're, catching up or whatever, that's fine too. We talked about how to fork Leon's repo and then how to clone it down into VS Code, how to push back up so we forked it into our own repo, clone it down to VS Code, then how to push back up to that repo and do a pull request and merge it back with Leon's code. So that's what you need to do for Tuesday's homework. So we talked about how to do that, did a little troubleshooting there. And then after that, we've just kind of been having a free-form discussion about anything that people want to ask about, any questions, we've had great discussion about all sorts of things. So, and that's how office hours generally go with Leon, is that, it's kind of, he might have a topic that he starts with, and then the rest is just free form question time. So that's kind of what we've been doing. Since there's no Leon office hours today, we're doing Mayan Wolf office hours, it's like the store brand office hours. The knockoff. I love folks that do know assembly that are like discussing and doing assembly programs. That's awesome. Yeah. I uh I have no coding. Many of you probably know this already. I have no coding background. So before I got into SQL, I knew nothing about coding. So I'm missing out on a lot of that history, I think. Stray, no, I still haven't finished Stray. I will, I promise. That's the problem with being an adult. It's so hard to find time to do fun gaming stuff. Sloop says, anybody have an issue with the mark as checked and delete buttons not working when you came back to run the app on a different day? Sloop, are you talking about like the Leon's app? Leon's to-do app? Is that what you're talking about? The one for the homework? I just want to be clear on what exactly you're mentioning there. Leon's to do. Okay. Yeah. So did you already put comments in your files? Like, did you already put comments specifically in the EJS file? And then you came back the next day and it wasn't working? Yes. Okay. So what Rascal brought up at one point was, I believe that the way that the code is written, it's taking into account the comments as like part of the child nodes. So I think if you look at your main.js file, it said something about looking at child nodes, and it actually counts the comment as a node. So I think if you remove the comments, you should find that the buttons start working again. It's just the way it's written. Um, yeah, the way the code is written, it means that it's like it's grabbing part of the comments as well. So try taking out the comments just on like the lines where, like for your LIs, like in the list, the LIs, maybe try taking out those comments. Ellen says we need AI to do adulting things. Yeah, there's a lot of apps out there that are supposed to help you like manage your life, right? Um, there's one out there I like called Tody, TODY. It helps you like keep track of cleaning schedules for like your house, like when to clean stuff, which I like. I have trouble sometimes staying on top of cleaning things, especially like I say, since I live alone, I have to clean everything. I can't, I can't delegate the work to anybody else. So that helps me remember to clean stuff like, clean the baseboards or clean the tub, that kind of thing. Hey, Russian, welcome. Good to have you here. Yeah, so if you want to know, Russian, if you want to know what we're all about, um, do exclamation point 100 devs in chat. Right, so underneath where the chat is showing up on your screen right now, just above my logo, Sorry, it's not 100 devs. Sorry, it's exclamation point Leon. I got my own chat command wrong. Exclamation point Leon in chat. And you'll see the more about the course that many of us are involved in. It's basically helps you become a MERN-Stack web developer. It's free, no charge, never any cost. Become a MERN-Stack web developer in a few months and get a job. So that's what we're doing. I'm actually already a developer, but I am really enjoying the course. So that's why I stick around, because I'm learning a lot. Yeah, and so Sloop, check out what Rascal and Strain said. Yeah, they're definitely right on the money with the comment formatting, and um, yeah, all that stuff. So definitely try that. Blind Bayaka says making sorting visualizers in assembly and making Tron and Pawn. Oh, that's really cool. Wow. Oh, cool. Fat Cat asks, how did I get into being a SQL dev? Yeah, that's a great question. So, I graduated from college with no coding experience. I tried to take one coding class in college, thought I was too dumb to do it, which is a massive mistake. You are not too dumb. Nobody is. Sometimes there are just bad teachers, and unfortunately, that's what I encountered in college. But I came out of it with a really bad impression of myself and my ability. Um, so I entered the workforce as a sort of a data analyst. I was on the actuarial path actually to be an actuary. Wasn't particularly enthusiastic about it. I just thought I can make money with this. And so I, got into a cubicle and a spreadsheet and, and got a job. But as part of that job, just sort of incidentally, we had to write just a few lines of SQL in order to connect a spreadsheet to a database backend in Excel. Um, and so just a few lines, like, right, but of course, me being fresh out of college, I put it on my resume. I know SQL, sure, right? Even though I know how to do like two things in SQL. I didn't even know it was SQL at the time, really. I just was like, oh, I don't know, what the heck is SQL? What am I doing with this? Um, and so, but you put it on your resume, because what else do I have on my resume? Nothing. Um, and so I that was the job where I felt like I wasn't really creating value, and I decided I wanted to jump ship and do something else where I could be more hands-on, more involved, learn more, that kind of thing. Um, so I jumped ship to an e-commerce company, and having SQL on my resume was a big plus for them. They needed an operations manager for their production facility. It was a big change from what I had been doing. Um, but yeah, this e-commerce facility, thousands of orders moving through the facility every single day. All of them needed logistical managing, helping orders get out the door, that kind of thing. So that was my job, and the whole production floor ran on a massive SQL database. So and all these stored procedures that were triggering things to happen at certain times, and everything had to run in sequence. Things had to be prioritized. Orders had to move through the system, had to be routed correctly. All of it ran on SQL. It was really an incredible just an incredible platform that was all coded by my manager there at the company. He's a SQL genius. And he immediately just gave me like a complete crash course, dive headfirst into cold water, type, crash course on SQL. Just, everything on the job, learned on the job as fast as I could possibly learn it. And so I picked up a ton at that job. I burnt out at that job after about 3 years. Just couldn't take it anymore. E-commerce is brutal. It is not a forgiving industry. But it was still I learned a ton, definitely. I would not recommend e-commerce as a long-term career path. But for short-term learning, it was pretty good. Um, and yeah, that was with the Microsoft SQL, T-SQL. Um, and then I leveraged those skills that I had picked up, more stuff to put on my resume, more skills, that kind of thing. And I went back to my alma mater, Purdue University, where I now work, um, and got a job as a data analyst. Because even though I had been doing SQL for 3 years at that point in my job, I was not a developer. I was operations manager. I didn't even think that I consider myself to be a developer at all. I was like, nope, I can do a little SQL, but it's all incidental. I'm not smart enough to code. I still had that mentality. I am not smart enough to code, which is in hindsight, it's ridiculous, but that's the kind of thing that you get drilled into your head, right? That you got to be a CS major to be a dev. No, absolutely not true. But unfortunately, that is often what we are told, right? You need a CS degree. You need, a master's in computer theory or whatever, and which is false. But again, the narrative. So anyway, I got a job as a data analyst. Worked as a data analyst for a few years. Kept doing more and more dev type stuff, and eventually I was like, look, this is silly. I was able to network with a manager that I really admired, who had a dev role open on their team. I was encouraged to apply by one of my coworkers. She was like, look, just apply for the position already, just do it. And so I was like, okay, fine. And so I networked with the manager. We kind of hit it off as far as, like our styles and our way of thinking about things. And I applied for the role and I got the job. And so really, I mean, it's like I was a developer the whole time. I just didn't believe in myself. And so, lesson learned. I feel like, as I tell that story, I hope that other people can overcome that feeling of inadequacy, maybe a little faster than I did. Because yeah, I love my job now. It's great being a dev. I love it. SQL all day long. Great, great fun. Yeah. Mavi says, I finished 2 SQL courses in data camp and I'm halfway into the third. Do I put SQL on my resume? Well, I mean, do you feel like you could confidently answer interview questions about SQL? Could you talk about joins and data structures? Could you do a theoretical type, whiteboard problem with SQL? If so, then yeah, I would say put it on your resume. Basically, could you pass the sniff test as an interviewer is concerned? Full join everything. Yeah, I made that mistake once, real scunny. Absolutely. And I got yelled at by a DBA. That was actually at my first job when I had no idea what I was doing. Um, yeah, I got chewed out by the database administrator. That was super fun. JD4 says, I got my start in Oracle SQL. I've been doing it now for 10 years. Wow. Yeah. I don't see myself getting tired of SQL. It's just such a, I don't know, it's like a bread and butter language. It's just so like sturdy. I like it. It's very good. What it does is kind of limited, but it's very good at what it does. Rascal says right join is best join. I don't know. I like inner joins myself. Oh, Sloop, you took a couple courses at Purdue? That's awesome. Yeah. Oh, JD4, you're a developer in higher ed too. Yeah. I wondered when you said Oracle. Um, yeah, because it seems like a lot of higher ed uses Oracle. Hey, Octavia, no worries. Yeah. Enjoy. Yeah, go to bed, get your sleep. I made that mistake on Wednesday, streaming too long. So definitely jump off and go to bed. Does Purdue use Ellucian Banner? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Not to a crazy degree. But yeah, yep, they do. Leibniz says I could do theoretical SQL. You just don't know the syntax. Well, I mean, the syntax is pretty easy to pick up. I actually have a stream on that. If you want to check out my intro to SQL stream from a couple weeks ago, we practice basic SQL syntax, and it's like SQL was written back in the 70s to be very similar to English as far as as far as building English sentences, how they're constructed. And so it's pretty easy to pick up the syntax if you already understand the concepts. Yeah, no record breaking stream today. Absolutely not. Odd 84, you're a banner developer. That's rad. Yeah. I don't work with the banner devs directly, but I mean, I do work with what they put out. Like I work with banner tables. I see the results of what they do. Oh, and Rascal just shared my intro to SQL. Thank you for that, Rascal. Yeah. So if you want a taste of SQL, to say like, hey, is this something that I want to pursue, check out my Intro to SQL. We practice the basics, and you can see if it interests you. And see if you want to pursue it further. Again, like Leon says, be careful about what, at this point in the course, be careful about what side projects you get into. But if you are interested in SQL, it is not a bad thing to know. A lot of job postings do ask for SQL as a skill. You might say, why? I already know MongoDB. Why would I know SQL? Well, SQL is the OG. It's the big daddy. It's the grandfather of database stuff, really. So a lot of businesses either use SQL or have tools that have a SQL interface of some kind. So it might be a GUI based tool, but it will have some kind of a SQL interface that you can use to do things that the GUI can't do. So that's what I see a lot is, you have a GUI tool, but then it has a SQL backdoor, and you can do more stuff with SQL. RDT. I'm still at the beginning of 100 devs, but I can't wait to get to the back end and try out the SQL video. I've had enough of HTML and CSS. So my recommendation, I'm flattered that you're interested in SQL. My recommendation would be to pick up JavaScript first. So do the JavaScript, that's understandable if you're tired of HTML and CSS. Move to JavaScript. Do that next. Once you have a good handle on JavaScript, then try out SQL. Yeah, don't get too far off track right now. But I'm flattered that you're interested in SQL. But definitely pick up JavaScript first. Get up to the present day in that, and then maybe move to SQL. What it says, I used to think I know Mongo. Why bother with SQL? Then I learned a little SQL, and I much prefer it. Yeah, I mean, there is some personal preference there, right? I'm not going to say that one is any better than the other. SQL is generally more structured, right? Just by its nature, it deals with relational data, very structured data with a lot of rules. And so if you like rules and structure, then, SQL is pretty good for that. Oh, your JD4 says, I'm a full-time consultant in a company that works with many colleges. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I know that some folks, some colleges, smaller colleges especially, may not have a dedicated banner team, and they just kind of consult that stuff, outsource it, that kind of thing. Yeah. I gotta say, those banner table names and the field names are cryptic, man. Very cryptic. Can VS Code run SQL? Yeah, it can. Well, I mean, you can code in SQL, and I'm sure there's probably an extension that can run it. The thing about SQL is that you kind of need a data source to read from in order to really use SQL to its full extent. So you need some kind of a database to connect to. There are lots of different sandboxes. If you watch my Intro to SQL video, I give you a sandbox where you can use built-in data in a sandbox to run queries on in practice. But there's tons of sandboxes out there online. I would almost suggest finding a sandbox online, and using sample data to run queries against. Leibniz says you can learn SQL immediately, right? It's declarative and functional, probably even better foundation for programming. Yeah, it's very foundational. It's I was able to pick it up without even realizing, I was able to pick it up on the job without even really realizing that I was writing code. It was just so very linguistic. It was very, like you say, very declarative and very foundational sort of language. Yeah, like if you so if you're just starting, like Rascal said, there's tons of extensions out there. You can use SQLite. You you know, yeah, SQLite, extensions for VS Code, that kind of thing. If you don't want to worry about having to build out your data, I would, if you're just dabbling, don't get too crazy. Just if you want to dabble in SQL, find a sandbox online, see if it's something you're interested in. And then if you're like, yeah, this sounds pretty cool, then you can kind of, maybe start building out your own database, that kind of thing. Yeah, JD4, there's the link to my Twitter there in chat. Well, it's just, that's my tag on my handle on Twitter, @MayanWolf on Twitter is where you can find me. I don't post a ton, but I do post information about my streams and my schedule there on Twitter. So if you want to know when my next stream will be and what we will talk about, I always post on Twitter the day of and to say what I'm going to talk about. I don't even want to know how many extensions Rascal has. So I know we missed our last we missed our last break. We generally take a break at the top of every hour at 5 o'clock. We should have had a break. I thought we were kind of wrapping up, and then we got more questions, and that's totally fine. I don't mind that at all. I just wanted to, apologize for not having a break at the top of the last hour. I'm happy to keep going. I'm fine. I feel like we're, kind of unstructured anyway at this point, just asking questions. So hopefully folks were able to get up and get a break if they needed one. Just sorry for not having the break at 5. Yeah, I'm happy to keep going. Totally fine. Um, we can kind of, maybe go until about 6 and then call it for this evening. So about I would say about 20 more minutes, 25 more minutes, and then we will wrap it up. But until then, I'm happy to talk about whatever you'll want to. Questions or, questions about the course, about the Discord, about me, whatever you want to hear. VS Code is the best Microsoft software. I don't disagree. However, all right, I would say Excel. Excel is probably my favorite Microsoft tool because it can do so much, especially newer versions of Excel. Like the Office 365 version of Excel is the gold standard. It is just so powerful. So cool. I am a self-professed Excel like fangirl. You already follow me on Twitter, JD. That's a good question, Homeless. So, do we need to learn UI design to build a website? So if you look at some of my past streams and some of the projects that I've done, I am not good at visual making things look pretty or good. Most of my stuff looks very plain, and that's partially because I am a back-end developer, right? I just don't have years of experience making user interfaces or making things look nice stylistically. I have a really hard time matching colors. And I don't know. I'm not very good at that. And so, no, I would say that you do not need to be, have UI design to build a website. What I do when I need to make something look pretty is I use a template. There's tons of templates available online. You just hook your code up to it, and it makes it look pretty. You could also use things like Bootstrap to help you build, front ends very quickly. There's tons of tools out there that can help you with styling without you having to do everything yourself. Um, so, templates, Bootstrap, um, even like website builders, WordPress, things like that can also help you. So, no, I would say the answer to that question is no. Risconi says Microsoft Teams is my vote for best MS software. I don't know. I used to like Teams until they came out with those new emojis. Have you seen their new emojis? They're horrendous. They're terrible. They're terrifying. I don't know. The new emojis are just doing my head in. That kid says VBA is the king. First coding language. I love VBA. Billing out those complex macros makes you feel like a hacker. It's amazing. I could build a finite element model in Excel in college. Crazy what it can do. Yeah. Especially like I say, in Excel just keeps getting more and more powerful. It's got Power Pivot and Power what? The other one. Power Pivot and the other one. They're built in now. It's got so many it keeps like pulling in things and making them native parts of Excel. It's wild. It says I run VS Code on Linux, works great. Yeah, yeah. VS Code has support on other platforms as well. It says Excel is a brilliant invention, hasn't changed much since the day it was created. I would disagree with that to some extent. I would say the basic features haven't changed, but they keep adding more and more power to it. It keeps getting smarter, which I think is really cool. Sandman, yeah, Excel's versatility. It's coming in hot with a first time chat. That's rad. Excel's versatility is what makes it to the top of software of the century list. I agree. Absolutely. Excel is the MVP. Yeah, Mavi suggests so for front end design, Mavi suggests Figma, which is great. Yep. You can that can help you with design, definitely. Power Query. Thank you, Big Jim. Yeah. Welcome, by the way, first time chat. Yeah, Power Query. That's the other thing I was thinking of. So Power Pivot and Power Query are now built into Excel itself, which is just friggin' wild. So you can basically, use Excel as like a database interface to some degree. I mean, obviously it's not as like efficient as raw SQL, but still you can do crazy powerful queries with just directly in Excel now. Um, I actually experimented with that for work as a side part of my job. I experimented with hooking up uh, working with some HANA, SAP HANA data directly in Excel. And it worked. It wasn't, we didn't end up using that option, but it worked. We could just hook straight up to a HANA database and do crazy stuff with it. Microsoft Word is still kind of hot garbage though. The only thing I don't like about Excel is how ugly all of the uh, like table formats are. They still look terrible. I could literally talk about Excel all day, but I'm sure that's not entirely relevant. So, what else do you all want to talk about? Go off on Excel all day. Excel is always relevant though. Yeah, so I will say this, having decent Excel skills, knowing basic formulas and knowing how to use pivot tables can get you surprisingly far. So you remember I mentioned earlier about that job I got with the e-commerce company. So story time, I was on the phone doing my phone interview with who would become my future manager. And of course SQL was a big part of it. That was a big thing, but he asked me, he said, "Can you explain to me what a pivot table is and what you would use it for?" And of course, at that point, I was working with pivot tables all the time, so I was able to explain, okay, yeah, here's what a pivot table is. Here's what I would use it for. And he told me later that the answer to that question is what got me the job. Like that was it. He was like, "Yep, you answered that pivot table question correctly," and that was when I said, "Yep, we're gonna hire her." So just I mean, that just knowing the basics of how to do some, intermediate level stuff in Excel, that got me a job. So that's one thing I will say. Will say for Excel, first try. How did Microsoft mess up Word? Well, they didn't really mess up Word. It's just so finicky. Stuff you try to do with it, it's just so you change one thing and I don't know. It's like the butterfly effect. You change one thing and everything else goes wrong. Yeah, I've seen All Too Swift. I've seen like people have done like fireworks shows in Excel. You can do crazy animations. It's wild. Yeah, JD4. You can hook Excel up to a JSON API and it just works. Yeah, absolutely. I saw something where you can also, yeah, you can even like if you're trying to like copy stuff off of a web page. So like if there's a list on a web page and you want to copy that into an Excel spreadsheet, like a table on like an HTML page, you can just there's a tool now in Excel where you can take that URL and like drop it in and Excel will parse like it'll parse the data and pull out the table for you. So you don't have to like try to copy it and get the formatting and stuff. It's so cool. Oh, posture check, thank you. Yeah. First program I created in Excel was a program that runs the workbook in the background and only calls and shows the UI. So it acted as a completely different program. That's rad. Yeah. No, I've done dashboard style, some pretty crazy like macro dashboards and stuff in Excel. Creating user interfaces and that kind of thing. It's really good for that. Buttons and interactions. Yeah. Creating user forms is so fun and simple. Yeah. Oh, Rascal says, and so talking about, I assume Rascal, you're mentioning that tool I was talking about where you can copy table data directly into Excel, like using Excel to do it for you. Rascal says, if possible, it will add a refresh button and that will update it from the site if it changes. That's so cool. So cool. And most people don't even know that those features exist. Yeah, the Excel automatic table importing. Yeah. So cool. Love Excel. And also too, another thing just to kind of be aware of is that Microsoft has also worked on unifying its app set. So not just Excel, but like the whole Microsoft Office suite, um, using Power Automate. So Microsoft Power Automate is an automation tool that allows you to trigger certain actions. So if you're familiar with like IFTTT, where an action happens and it triggers something else to happen elsewhere, Power Automate is a way to kind of hook multiple Microsoft apps together and have things happen. So, for example, at work, I built something in Power Automate that when I get an email with certain, like if an overnight scheduled job fails, so like a important SQL job fails, it triggers an email which goes to my inbox, but I might not see that. What I get instead is an alert in Microsoft Teams, which pops up on my phone right away, and it tells me the details of the error. Because it extracts it so that getting that email in my inbox triggers Power Automate to fire, and that builds a card and sends it to me in Teams. So there's powerful automation tools that Microsoft can deliver as well. And some workplaces are kind of getting into that. Gosh, I haven't used JD4. I haven't used Access in years. I used it a long, long time ago. I haven't used it in years though. Oh, Real Scotty, that's a great question. So Real Scotty asks, if you were interviewing a potential new member of your team, so I assume you're talking about the team that I currently work on, um, what one or two technical questions would you want to ask? So I would probably actually get a better feel for somebody asking more like behavior questions. What I would probably ask are like something like, what's a time when you saw a need in your current role, what is the time when you saw a need and you took it upon yourself to resolve that issue or fill that niche, that thing that was missing in your role? How did you take initiative to fix that issue, fill that niche, solve that problem? And did it work? If so, why do you think it worked? If it didn't work, why do you think it didn't work? I think that's a great way to kind of see to find folks that have initiative, have desire to learn, have desire to improve, and have the ability to be creative and think outside the rigid description of their role. Another question I might ask is, what's a time when you I might ask, so have you ever been the leader of a project? Um, and if so, can you describe that project? How did you see your role as a leader? What kind of leader, how did you approach the role of being a leader? Um, and how did that project turn out? I feel like both of those questions kind of give you a feel for, is that person comfortable, adapting their role to be a leader? Are they comfortable taking charge? How do they adapt to new situations? How do they solve problems? Do they take initiative? Yeah. Rascal says the first tech I was paid for was a POS or point of sale system that the owner specifically wanted to use Excel sheets as data sources. Yeah, that happens so much. So many times people are like, oh, I don't have a database. I have spreadsheets though. I have this spreadsheet that has 6 million rows. Can you use this? That happens so often. Um, Arenzi says, not sure if you went over this in a previous stream, but where do you usually start with a full stack app? I have an idea for the 100 hours project, but it feels overwhelming and I'm not sure where to begin. The HTML, JavaScript, pseudocode. Um, so I might begin. First of all, I mean, pseudocode is never a bad place to begin. Thinking about what are the functions that my app needs to have. I'm not going to say what is everything I want the app to do. What are the basic functions? What's the minimum viable product that I need to get the app running? What are like the two or three basic functions that my app needs to be able to do? Of course, there's a lot of things we want, but maybe what are the few basic things that we need to be able to do? Um, and then what I might do is, personally, I like to start with like the server.js, kind of like I see that as kind of like the hub for controlling the app. So, what kind of requests do I expect to come into my server? What kind of things do I expect to go, out to the database? I like to start with kind of that hub of the server file. And then I can think about, what things might I want to display, on my user facing stuff, on my user facing pages. So those are things that I, need to be listening for on my server file, and, be sending back and forth to the database. So, the server is kind of the crossroads for where information is flowing in and out. So I like to start there. Not everybody likes to start there. Some folks might want to start with what the user sees and then think about how the server needs to be built in order to control that. But yeah, I nearly always start with server.js and build out the few basic things that I want to start with. And then, get that working and add functionality from there. But yeah, minimum viable product is what you should focus on. I think my 100 hours project is going to take 1,000 hours. Well, how do you streamline it so you get it down to 100 hours? What do you cut? Cut things down until you're able to, again, minimum viable product, and then get that working, and then reevaluate from there and slowly add features. It might take longer, absolutely. Like Rufio, their 100 hours project, which I think is marvelous, is a talking dictionary of a Native American language. Which, those Native American languages are in danger of going extinct. And so what Rufio is doing is attempting to preserve that language by creating a dictionary, a browser-based dictionary. And I think hers has gone, way past 100 hours, but she's still plugging away at it because it's a worthy cause to her, right? Um, yeah. Rascal, that's another great approach. So Rascal says, I generally start from the position of the user or client, as if they were talking, as if they were there talking to the developer, communicating what the app needs to do. Yeah, so spelling it out in pseudocode, spelling it out in plain language. What are the requirements of this app? Strange, there's 100 hours plus 900 hours of work in the to-do portion on GitHub. There you go. Yeah, Mavi shared a link there to a video. I believe that's the one on minimum viable product. So yeah, feel free to check that out. Okay, we got about I was gonna say about 7 minutes left for questions. Again, I'm loving the discussion. Really, really fun topics. I wasn't sure what we were going to talk about today, but I'm digging it so far. So let's keep coming. We got several more minutes here. I wasn't even sure we'd have enough content to fill like an hour today, and look at this. We've gone 3, so this is awesome. Anything else? Oh, great, Arenzi. Yeah. Yeah, definitely catch the VODs. Never feel bad if you can't join me live. If you can't ever join me live, there's lots of folks that can't ever join me live because, time differences or what have you. And so again, that's why the VODs are there. Exclamation point YouTube in chat for a direct link to my YouTube channel where my videos end up. If you want to watch them, on YouTube instead. It's all good. The streams are so enjoyable. Thank you. MD Red says, oh, great question. Okay. When I start a project, I see some functionality of my project is the same functionality of my previous project. Is it okay to copy and paste the functionalities to my new project from my previous projects? Heck yes. Yes, I do that. So at work, in my day job, I do that all the time. You got something that does the exact same thing you're trying to do right now, then you know it worked last time, right? So take the thing that works and use it again. Don't be, because it just, for me anyway, coding from scratch means that I'm more likely to make mistakes. So if I've got something that I've used before and it worked, copy and paste that bad boy. Yeah, absolutely. Like Leibniz says, yeah, if you're doing it right, you should be able to reuse your previous functions. Absolutely. Yeah, copy and paste. I do that all the time. You'll see that a lot, I think, as we get more into CRUD. But on most of my CRUD streams, you'll see the same elements repeated over and over again, always connecting the database the same way, always setting up your ports the same way. I don't retype those every time. I'm copying and pasting that sucker. Because I don't want to make a typo and spend half an hour troubleshooting. And I do that in my real job too. And it's encouraged. It's not like our managers are like, "Ooh, don't copy and paste." The more senior people on the team, they're like, "Yeah, here's a piece of code you can copy and paste from. Just grab that sucker and change the variables." And so that's what I do. So you will find that a lot in a real job as well, real dev job. Reusable code is the best indeed. Yeah, and even Leon said he copies and pastes. Yeah, people have this sort of idea sometimes, I think, that it's like cheating somehow, but it's not cheating, it's efficient. It's efficient because one, you know it works, and two, it's much quicker to control C, control V than it is to type a bunch of stuff. Yeah, and obviously you copy and paste and then you change what needs to be changed, right? You might need to change variables or even change the way something functions, but if you can copy and paste the basic, structure of a function, then that works, and you can build on top of that and make it better. Ruska says, in school, copying your own work was plagiarizing, even though it was written by you. I know, yeah. And that's really in the real world, like, I copy stuff written by other devs on my team all the time. Sometimes they'll just be like, hey, I'm going to copy this code that you did for this other thing because I think it does the same thing that I need. And they're like, yeah, sure, whatever. Sometimes they might be like, yeah, just copy it, but there's that one mistake that I fixed, so, just fix that on yours too. And it's like, all right, cool. So nobody cares. As long as you don't pass it off and saying I came up with this, like, it's all about that common decency, right? Saying like, I yeah, this is based on a project I did before, or I got this from so and so, and so as long as you're not being a jerk about it, right? Built my server side. So Strain says, built my server side CRUD logic for my homework by pulling from the 2 tutorials we were assigned. Yeah, absolutely do that. Just rearrange the pieces to fit where I needed them. That's an important skill to have, realizing how applicable code is to your current project. Yes, and that's the thing I think I've said before is that, you know, um, true knowledge is really realizing that you already have useful elements and then having the knowledge to know where to put them, right? That to me, that's real knowledge, is a deeper understanding of what this stuff is and what it does and how it works together, is saying like, oh, I could grab thing A, B, and C from my previous project and modify them in such and such a way and put them here, and they'll work, and I know they'll work. And that's true knowledge, rather than just typing, knowing, having a framework in your head. That shows that you're starting to get the bigger picture, which I think is really cool. Reduce, reuse, recycle. Yeah. It's not cheating, it's efficient. Another mind merge idea. Ryan says, if you feel sketchy, just make a comment giving credit. Yeah, sure. Synthesis is one of the top steps on the learning pyramid. Ooh, coming in with the official vocab there. Yeah, yeah, totally. That's yeah. I'll keep saying it. I feel like the base level is just blindly typing out things without understanding what they do and just hoping that they work. But then the higher level is understanding how these elements work together, and then knowing how to rearrange them to make them do different things. After all, somebody can have a Fender but not know how to play it. Yeah, totally. Yeah, that was I love that question though. That's a fantastic question. Um, and I feel like I want to answer it every time it comes up, just because it's it's important to get past that misconception that copying and pasting is evil, and that, because yeah, of course plagiarism is bad, right? Plagiarism, true plagiarism, where you're saying, I did this, I did all of this, it's mine, it's nobody else's, anybody else is just you know I don't know, maliciously copying my work, right? When it's not yours, that's bad. But being able to reuse elements and make them work in different ways, then that's fine. That's why I give people access to my GitHub, right? I expect that you'll take this stuff and you will, maybe use parts of it and then do something different with it. That's really cool to me. Also, if you do look at my GitHub and you decide to build something cool, based on something that I've talked about on one of my streams, please tag me on Twitter, because I really love to see what you guys make with my templates and with my from my streams. So please tag me on Twitter. I love to see your stuff. I look at every single one. Every single mention on Twitter, I always look. Homeless exclamation point GitHub in chat for a link. Klaus says, usually Stack Overflow gives me a hint or direction where I can continue. Yeah, absolutely. Stack Overflow is great for code snippets. I use it all the time. Oh, thanks, JD4. Yeah. Well, with that last fantastic question, let's go ahead and wrap up for today. Again, really great discussion. Had an awesome time. If you just joined toward the latter half of the stream, we did spend the first hour or so of the stream talking about how to fork and clone, for the homework that is due on Tuesday in Leon's class. So if you were having trouble completing that homework, doing the to-do code comments, please catch the first part of the VOD where we talk about forking and cloning. And then if you need help commenting out the code, which is again is the assignment, check out my stream from this past Wednesday, where we spent 6 hours doing that. So check that out if you need help. So my goal is that we get way more pull requests, people finishing the homework, and that by Tuesday there's like 1,000 pull request submissions. So that's the goal: 1,000 submissions by Tuesday. How will I enjoy the rest of my day? Got some work to do. I've got some boring adult stuff, laundry, cleaning up the foster kittens enclosure, that kind of thing. Doing some meal prep. Yeah, nothing super fun, but adult stuff that's got to happen, right? One of the challenges of not renting anymore, of actually owning a property, is all the maintenance. Got some maintenance stuff to do too. But all right, it's all good. Helps keep me active. All right. Good. I'm glad everybody enjoyed it today. You're welcome. All right, let's find somebody to raid, shall we? Give me a minute and get that pulled up. I like to make somebody's day. Um, give them a nice sized raid. No worries, Unicorn. Glad you enjoyed it. This was a fun office hours. I'm glad I got the opportunity to do this. Um, my my streams are normally more structured. If you're just tuning in for the first time, we normally do like projects and that kind of thing. But occasionally we do have sort of unstructured streams like this one. So definitely check out some of my previous stuff if you're interested. And you can join me again on Wednesday evening. We will be doing another stream. Not sure about what yet. It depends on what we talk about on Tuesday. So going to Stream Manager, looking at raids. Who's online? All right, we got CM Griffin. We just rated them like a week ago though, right? I like to kind of mix it up and spread the love. So, anybody have any suggestions on who they might want to raid? When's the next Stray stream? I know, I need to finish Stray. Hopefully this week. I really want to finish it. CM Griffin, Purple Elf. We did Purple Elf last time, right? Um, that's fine. We can do CM Griffin. I wish Ryan says, I wish Rascal 2 was streaming today. Yeah, right. Rascal 2, the amazingly helpful Rascal 2, does have a regular stream now. So definitely subscribe to Rascal for quality content. Edward Orfs. Okay. What do they do? I'm trying to spell it, sorry. Oh, Eduardo RFS. Oh, okay. They're doing software game development. Yeah, we can check them out. Let's see what they got going on. All right, yeah, it looks like they're coding something. Let's do it, shall we? All right. I will see you all again on Wednesday. Thank you so much again for stopping in. Feel free to, hit me up on Discord, same handle, Mindwolf. I look forward to seeing you there. All right, starting the raid now. See you all again very soon. Have a good rest of your day. Bye.